Well, guys, that was painful. That really sucked. What a waste of a perfectly good Sunday afternoon for your boy Ace. Wasted by going to the Rock to watch that non-performance, essentially. I'm disgusted. Oh, welcome back, Devils fans. It is your host, Ace, here on Running with the Devils, where we are talking New Jersey Devils hockey all year long. Please hit that subscribe button. Woof. Smash the like. Share with a friend. Thank you very much. And your New Jersey Devils, folks, looking to snap a 2-game losing streak on home ice against the Islanders, who have absolutely nothing to play for. Find a way to be shut out and lose 1-0. And I'm disgusted. Lots to get into, lots to vent about. But cheers to all you guys. Win or lose, we booze. I'm staying with my springtime, summertime drink, the High Noon Peach. And I might need a dozen or so of these tonight, but, ooh, refreshing. Cheers to you guys. What a horrible game. I mean, where do I start, right? I mean, 2 losses at home in a row coming into this one. A 7-2 drubbing by the Bruins, a 4-2 loss by the Pens. We got Sidney Crosby in the third period, looking to just get some sort of momentum and feel good about, how they're playing going into the playoffs. And instead, shut out. 3-game losing streak at home. It is now our second 3-game losing streak at home in the past 3 weeks. March 20th, we melted down and lost that 5-3 game to the Flames on March 20th. Then on the 22nd, they lost 3-2 to the Sens. And then on the 24th, they had that painful shootout loss to the Canucks, 4-3. So 3-game losing streak there. Then they went 2-1 on the road, came back, beat the Wild at home in a shootout, shut out the Rangers. And you're like, okay, maybe, things are starting to click down the stretch here. And then we just go out and lose 3 in a row. 7-2 to the Bruins on the 8th, 4-2 to the Pens on the 11th, and then today 1-0 shutout. And so now we are on a 3-game losing streak, all on home ice, all to teams that had nothing to play for in the game. Teams that were mathematically eliminated from the playoffs prior to the game, and we go 0-3 against these teams on our home ice. Furthermore, we've scored 4 total goals in the 3 games. 4 total goals in these 3 games. And we now, as of right now, we haven't scored a goal in 114 minutes of hockey. Let that sink in. 114 minutes. We scored 2 goals in the first 6 minutes of the last game. Went the last 54 minutes of that game not getting anything, and then 60 minutes today. And so, again, 114 minutes of hockey without a goal. 4 goals over 3 games. All losses. So 0-3. 4 total goals against complete bottom feeders of the league that are out of the playoffs before the game with nothing to play for. And to see Keefe, I think Keefe's a good coach, and a lot of people, I think, attribute blame to him and blah, blah, blah. I think he's a good coach. I think he's gotten the team as far as they have this year. I think with a different coach, we probably wouldn't even be in the playoffs because, quite frankly, we are going to be statistically the worst team in the playoffs this year. We're going to literally have the least points out of every team in the playoffs, out of both conferences. And there's a reason for it. It's because we've been inconsistent all year. And there is no just flipping the switch. You need momentum going into the playoffs. You don't want to limp in. And this is a definition of limping in. I was frustrated that we couldn't clinch when it was on the line to, win and in against the Bruins. And we just limped in. We clinched with the Rangers loss. And then we come out and just shit the bed at home, get shut out today by Sorokin. And quite frankly, again, the Islanders had nothing to play for, but they have some pride. Sorokin, shout out to my buddy Pat. I think he might be in here. I saw him at the game briefly, but he texted me a screenshot from the broadcast. Ilya Sorokin, with that shutout, has tied, I think it's Billy Smith. Let me just double check here. From Pat, the stat boy for the Islanders. Yeah, Ilya Sorokin has tied Billy Smith, second all-time in New York Islander franchise history with 22 shutouts, with his eye on Chico Resch, who's in the number 1 spot with 25. Glenn Chico Resch holding down that number 1 spot with 25 shutouts. Sorokin will easily pass that next season, but he's tied with the shutout today with Billy Smith, number 2 all time. But, outside of little things like this, the Islanders had nothing to play for, but they're professional athletes and they have pride. The Devils just go out there and it's like, oh, the game's meaningless. Let's just lollygag, nobody get hurt. And that kind of, it's just loser mentality. I'm not saying to go out there and block slap shots with your face, but you can't go through the game as if it's completely meaningless and nobody cares what happens, because I'm sure I can tell you that the players aren't thrilled we're on a 3-game losing streak. And if anyone thinks that we're just going to magically flip the switch when we get to the playoffs and all of a sudden now they're going to start scoring goals in bunches and they're going to start playing physical, that shit does not happen. That is a fairy tale kind of delusion. You need to go into the playoffs playing well. And right now we are going to be limping into the playoffs playing horribly. Again, 4 total goals in the last 3 games against non-playoff teams. 4 total goals scored. 0-3 in those games, and we haven't scored a goal in 114 minutes. Quite frankly, I'm honestly disgusted. But in the end, this team is who we thought they were. They're just consistently inconsistent, and on some nights, can they rise to the occasion and beat great teams? Yes. But more times than not, they're going to disappoint you and break your heart and just kind of dog it. And we saw that tonight. I mean, it's just painful. And I was at the game. Shout out to my buddy Brian for the tickets. I had a great time until the end. I was still optimistic we were going to tie it and somehow win. But thank you very much, Brian. Appreciate the hookup. But the Devils just, they find a way to just leave their fans angry when you leave the game. Brutal. Absolutely brutal. And so I'm hoping they prove me wrong. I was delusionally believing we could give Carolina a series as of a couple days ago. At this juncture, I have to come to reality. They're going to probably kill us. How are you going to just play these games if they mean nothing? And then all of a sudden you're like, all right, guys, it's the playoffs. Turn it up now. That's not what happens. Teams have been playing playoff hockey for weeks. We've played it for stretches of games here and there. 2025 has been a tragic year, calendar year for the Devils. We looked great in December, obviously. The holiday break came. Everyone knows the drill. And then it all went downhill. But cheers to all you. Win or lose, we booze. This one really sucks. I'm hoping they could win one of these last 2 games and avoid going into the playoffs on a 5-game losing streak. I mean, that would be completely ridiculous. Let's do the game stats, right? Islanders, 22 shots on goal. Devils, 25. Islanders, 47.6% of the faceoffs. Devils, 52.4%. Isles go 0 for 3 on the power play. Big 5-minute kill for the boys. I really thought that could be the kind of momentum changer. Killing off that 5-minute penalty, but in the end, they did not much with it. The Devils had a couple shifts where they had the pressure on the Islanders, but they couldn't do anything with it. But yeah, Isles 0 for 3 on the power play. Devils 0 for 1. Islanders with 27 hits. Devils with 19 hits. Islanders 22 block shots. Devils 9 block shots. Again, you already know, right? We're not trying. We're not blocking shots. Don't get hurt. Don't try. 9 block shots. I believe we had 4 last game. It's tragic. Islanders 31 giveaways. That's a shitload. Devils 23, also very high. Islanders 3 takeaways, Devils 2 takeaways, and that's all she wrote, folks. That is all she wrote. Bo Horvat with a snipe. Another goal scored in the last 2 minutes. This one was under a minute left in the second. Beautiful snipe by Bo Horvat, his 28th of the season. Gave the Isles the 1-0 lead. That's all they needed. That is how the game would end. And your New Jersey Devils are just limping, baby. We're like the deer that got hit by the car. You know, when you see the deer, they get whacked. Cars, it doesn't vaporize them. Like, if the car's going like 35, 40, it's not going to vaporize the deer. It's going to like crush them. And it's going to do like a pirouette and get up with broken limbs and kind of hobble off into the woods. That's kind of this New Jersey Devils team. We're the deer that just got whacked by a car going like 37. We did a couple back tumble salts, maybe a couple broken limbs, and we're getting back up and just kind of getting off the highway to avoid getting run over. It's pathetic. People are fighting in the comments here. We'll just get into these comments. I don't know how long I'm going to last on here. I'm pretty pissed off. Wow. What a terrible game. What a terrible game. John M. still bought my playoff tickets. All this talk about the end of the season disappears once they drop the puck game 1. I wish I could agree, John. I mean, it is true. It's a whole new season, but in terms of business, right? We know the owners are all about that money, money, money. How excited, and you guys know I'm a huge diehard fan, right? And I'm going to go to playoff games. But the reality is for fans that aren't as diehard or, the more casual fan or maybe the fans that get a little more involved come, the playoff time, how enthused would you be to spend your hard-earned money on these very expensive playoff tickets? How enthusiastic are you going to be to go out and buy these playoff tickets for a team that literally is statistically the worst team in the playoffs of both conferences. And just, like I said, we're doing the deer that got hit by the car limp into the playoffs. How enthusiastic are you going to be to open your wallet and spend this money? I'm going to do it begrudgingly because, again, I am a lunatic. Look at me. I'm sitting. I'm on a YouTube channel right now talking to you guys about a tragic loss. I'm not the average fan. I have problems, so I'm going to be there no matter what. But for those that don't live and die Devils hockey, is this a good kind of advertisement, if you will, for playoff hockey? Come by, and they're advertising it nonstop during the game while we're getting shut out 1-0 by the Islanders. Buy your playoff tickets. Get your season tickets. Get priority. I mean, what kind of commercial is this to get shut out and go 0-3 on a home stretch against teams that were eliminated? It's just bad for business. You gotta do better. Traveling Devils says they are playing to not get hurt, apparently. Oh, and it shows. It absolutely shows. More people fighting with Ranger fans in here. John NJDevils45, absolutely brutal, frustrating hockey this weekend. Too many missed shots. This team drives me to drink. This team's been driving me to drink, John. Cheers to that. Chico, Devils were the better team today, same as the Pens game. They're just capping their game at being good. They make a mistake and they don't elevate to push for a win to save it for the playoffs, which is bullshit in my opinion. Chico, 82 games in the season, boys try. I couldn't agree more. I could not agree more. James says, cheers, guys, at the end of our season. Well, we got at least 6 more games, 2 regular season, even if we get swept. And there he is, Patty, just rubbing the salt in the wound. Let's go, Islanders, you scum. No bag over my head. We're going to the playoffs. I can't wear the bag, but it may make an appearance again in the playoffs. I am a Surfside guy, Pat. I ran out, and I'm down to the Nooners, but Surfside is my shit. I like the iced tea one, the lemonade. I like the 50-50. I like all of them. Now, Porsche Jam's a great guy. Longtime hockey fan, big Islanders fan. He made the trek out with his son, Patty, from, I'll call it Central Jersey. Made the trek out to the Rock to support his boys in a meaningless game. So shout out to the Islander fans that made the trip. And you saw Sorokin tie Billy Smith for second all time in franchise history in shutouts. James, sad, uninspiring hockey heading into the playoffs. I think that's very well said. What's going on, Brian? Prediction, if Devils lose one game against the Canes, lose first game against the Canes, the season is over. I mean, that first game is crucial. But if they could somehow get the split, obviously there's going to be a lot of pressure on the Devils if they lose the first one to win the second one to get the split. Winning the first game would be massive because then you're almost playing with house money in game 2. Because even if you lose, you're coming home with the split, which should be your goal from the beginning. But I mean, that's not a bad prediction there, Brian. I could totally see that happening. If the Devils lose the first one, then they might just crumble entirely. Jeff, the amount of times NJD has lost games trying to win 1-0 this season is frustrating. The firepower is not there, and you could look at the executive suite for that. Again, the team, it was very clear they were having trouble scoring very early on in the season. I officially hit the panic button, put the video out. I forget the exact date, but it was late January. After those back-to-back brutal home losses against the Flyers and Senators, I said, I hit the mic. I said, I've seen enough. This is more than just a little mid-season slide. It is time to start making some moves because I could tell at that point, and I thought I was very generous with, waiting to press the panic button. I gave them every opportunity, and people were freaking out way before then. Hold on one second, guys. I got to activate the fan because with the amount of salt intake I had in the lounge today, combined with the alcohol now and me yelling under these lights, I'm getting all hot. That's when I hit the panic button. It was clear that the roster needed some tweaking. Again, Fitzgerald with his hands in his pockets during the season, just like last year. And at the deadline, we had to go bargain bin shopping, and you get Glass and Sprong. And, I think they're decent players, but those aren't guys that are going to move the needle, really, for a team that desperately needed help. And when you see the other teams around the league, Ottawa going out and getting Cousins and Zetterlund, that's a GM trying to win, and that's a team looking to make some real noise in the playoffs. And I think the Senators are going to be a tough out. And I will tell you guys right now, I will do a bracket show. My bracket will be out, but I am 100% picking the Senators to beat what most likely will be the Maple Leafs in the first round. Red Devil, absolutely embarrassing. The Rags buried them. We can't get a win. We haven't scored a goal in the last 5 periods. This is not how you prep for the playoffs. Completely agree. The last, fine. I'll even dismiss a couple games, but at some point when you're now on a losing streak, I'm like, all right, guys, tonight, this is a dress rehearsal for the playoffs. And especially for guys that don't have a playoff position secured, right? I mean, I would imagine as of right now, in the bottom 6, I don't know that even Keefe knows exactly which way he wants to go. He's mentioned something along the lines of he has an idea, but in the end, These are all kind of auditions for guys for the bottom 6. Like, is Bastian going to be on the playoff roster? Is Lazar? I'm pretty sure Sprong and Glass are kind of secure, but maybe not. Tatar, all these guys, who are the bottom 6 going to be for game 1? And so if you're not sure of your status for the playoffs and you get put in a game like today, you better be going balls out. This is your tryout to make the team for the playoffs. Your spot's not locked in. And here we are, getting shut out. Yeah, Billy Smith. Dire Straits says, yeah, don't worry, they will flip the switch. I just don't believe the switch exists. I would love to be completely wrong. I would love for puck drop in Raleigh, and all of a sudden we're like, holy shit, where did this team come from? I just can't see it because of the fact that, again, coming out of 4 Nations, that was like the pre-playoffs. Tons of teams jockeying for position, looking to solidify their playoff spot and or standings. And there was just way too many games where the Devils just gave a completely lackluster effort in games that really mattered. And so when, Keefe or analysts or whether it's Sal probably making excuses, I don't even think today was on MSG actually, but whoever it is trying to give the excuses and it's hard, they have nothing to play for, this and that. It's like, they did this shit when the games mattered. So I'm not going to buy the baloney, if you will, as my grandmother would say. I'm not going to buy the baloney that this is only happening because it's like, oh, they know they don't have to win. They were doing this shit when we needed the wins. They are who we thought they were. And I hope to be proven completely wrong. I will eat a crow sandwich on this very channel. But to me, if you could just flip that switch right back on, they would have done it a couple months back when we needed. I'm having a sneezing attack. Allergy season underway here. They would have flipped that switch, in February and March when the standings were getting tight and we needed wins. I'm dying, Donnie. Nicole, I'm personally conflicted. The team can be fragile. I don't want injuries before the playoffs, but I also want to see momentum from them going into the playoffs. I want playoff mentality. Well, you're not going to get that till the playoffs. And the playoff mentality may very well be more of the same. Colby Isles would be bottom 5 without Sorokin. See how they've done without him this season. Sorokin's a game changer, guys. That's why teams pay the top goalies good money, because they could win games on their own. Snow, this team is in deep shit. They're 5 versus 5 players in garbage all year. Dire Straits, they're going to finish with less points than wildcard teams. How is this acceptable? We are going to be the worst team in the playoffs. Facts. And Jay Snow, I agree. You can score a goal and still not get hurt. But it all just comes back to loser mentality, in my opinion, to be quite honest. Red Devil, we couldn't even get our 1 point to clinch. Even Sid Crosby in the Pittsburgh retirement home embarrassed us, and the Islanders play with pride. Plus, they have Uncle Lou behind them. Uncle Lou. You think Uncle Lou is going to take efforts like this? Shit. A 3-game losing streak like this after clinching, Lou would have fired the head coach. He'd have been like, you're done. You're not ready for playoff war. Ride and respect. Effortless snooze fest tonight. Absolutely it was. I was there. Stuffing my face and hoping to see a goal. Didn't even see a goal. John faces, we are going into the playoffs without any momentum and get swept by the Canes. I hate to say it. It's possible. It's very possible. Nicole, there have been a few games even before now that were unacceptable play. I want to see the entire team hating to lose. Well, Nicole, guess what, girl? Today was game 80. They're not going to just start hating to lose so much that we see a difference in games 81, 82, or the playoffs. This is the group we have, the consistently inconsistent New Jersey Devils. And honestly, of all the guys, my heart bleeds the most for Markey. Markey played a pretty damn solid game today, and he gets a 1-0 loss. I mean, he's on a multiple game losing streak. I mean, it's just so unacceptable on so many levels. Chico versus the Pens and Isles, they're a better team. Content with playing well. Mistakes cost them, not elevating their game in order to. I think, did I already read this? Or you said it twice? It is what it is. You can call it whatever you want, but a loss is a loss. And this is, like, as I've said a million times, this is a results-oriented business. Michael, what's up? I hope Fan Appreciation Night they actually play. I'll be there for my B-Day. Oh, man, why are you going to ruin a good birthday on something like this? Jay Snow, Carolina is going to smother us. It's a shame. Michael, the back-to-back against Wild gave me hope. Oh, me too. I was like, oh, we're back. We're so back. And then we had the Rangers shutout. There's been so many things to look at. So many things to look at here, but it points to the season where the highs and lows, right? We said this is a season of high highs, low lows, and here we are again now, the second 3-game losing streak at home in 3 weeks, and it's disgusting. Dire Straits, what did Keith even say about today? More BS? Yeah, pretty much more of the same. We got to score and blah, blah, blah. It's all, they've accepted losing any of these games because the playoff spot is secure. And again, this is just loser mentality. It's like, light the fireworks off. We made the playoffs. Like, making the playoffs doesn't mean shit. Go win a round. Making the playoffs is nothing to celebrate. It really isn't. Stanley, can this be the last game we see the dog shit third jerseys, please? I think it might be. Supposedly that design is done. I don't know when they're going to incorporate a new one, but you guys already know what my vote is for what the next alternate jersey, third jersey, whatever you want to call it, should be. And it's very obvious. Joe Cade, Keith called the game sleepy during the presser. All but confirmed they are game planning to avoid injuries heading into the playoffs. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, that's what's happening. But again, there is an ocean of difference between completely not trying and then, not getting injured. Like, give it I'll even accept a C+ effort. Today's an F. You don't score a goal. That is an F effort. Porsche GM says, mention the timeout. Oh, yeah. So I meant to tell you, I was driving, Pat, so I couldn't text it to you because I would have murdered myself in the car. Keith thought that Palmieri was offsides, and so they couldn't get the angle quick enough from their video review guys. So he explained he called the timeout in hopes of getting some alternate views to further determine whether he wanted to use a challenge there for offsides. And then he said after calling the timeout and getting some of the other angles, there was nothing that they felt comfortable with enough to use the challenge, so they decided not to. But that he explained in his post-game press conference, that's what the timeout was for. He was hoping to find an angle to give him some more intel into whether that was potentially offsides. Chico, Marky, Nico, Bratt, Luke, and Sprong are exempt from any of my disappointment. Everyone else can skate laps for a couple hours. That ain't going to happen. This is the 2025 NHL, Chico. There's no disciplinarian kind of tactics like that anymore. People be filing grievances with the league and their NHLPA reps. Jay Snow, Lane Hudson is going to be better than Luke. Watching him play right now, it could change. I mean, I don't know. I guess people are always going to compare young defensemen, but Lane Hudson's about to win the Calder, so with like 60+ points. Red Devil, this team is so frustrating to watch. They get your hopes up and then proceed to repeatedly disappoint with inconsistent play. I don't even get disappointed anymore. I expect them to sleepwalk. I get sucked in, though, because I'm just a hopeless romantic with this team. I keep thinking like, oh, they're going to turn it around. But in the end, this is game 80, guys. What do they say? A leopard doesn't change its spots. Consistently inconsistent. A bipolar team. We've seen them all year. They're capable of beating anyone, and they are capable of losing to anyone. I mean, even you look back earlier on in the season, in November, was it? They beat the defending champion Florida Panthers on their home ice, back-to-back games. You're like, hell yeah, that's a moment, right? You on the road, you're hoping to get a split against the defending Cup champs on their home ice, and we beat them both games, and you're like, all right, this team's got something to it. But then you go out and you lose to the Sharks of the world and the Ducks, and then lose 3 games in late March, early April to teams eliminated from the playoffs on home ice and score 4 total goals in the 3 games. It's absolutely disgusting. Chico, they might go into the playoffs under 90 points. I'm sorry, regardless of how they're playing, that's pathetic. It is. James says, in terms of money, I'll be spending my money on my trip to France instead of spending my money on playoff tickets, LOL. I can't say that I blame you. Dire Straits, no one is taking them seriously, and I don't blame them. Imagine watching since December and thinking this team can do anything. Yeah, I can imagine. I'm that asshole, Dire Straits. I'm that guy, and there's plenty of me because all we have is hope. James, the team is exhausting. Can't wait till it's over. Let's be serious. This is not anywhere near a championship team. Listen, I'm going to continue to say that anything could happen in the playoffs. Obviously, anything could happen in the playoffs, but, if you're being honest with yourself, like, yeah, they haven't played, even during the best stretches, it hasn't been the same amount of games that it would be in the playoffs, right? So it's like, could they go on a miracle run and get through 2 rounds? It's obviously possible, but the offense is majorly concerning. I mean, 4 goals in the last 3 games against non-playoff teams. The defense and Markey on most nights are pretty, above average, I would say. But when you can't score goals, you see it tonight, right? Markey let up 1. You're like, hell yeah, Markey, 1 goal against. We should win that game. know because we score 0. So for any chance of success in the playoffs, I think it's going to have to be a ton of 2-1 games. Like, I don't even know, like 3-2 used to be a score I would throw out there as like, that's a game we could win. I have no confidence in scoring 3 goals consistently. We're going to have to win 2-1 games. 2-1, 1-0. Collect records, couldn't be bothered after 5 minutes of this mess. Left the Masters on and kept my blood pressure down. Keith, better have than coming out on fire in the playoffs after this mini vacay. Yeah, I don't know. Nicole, hopefully optimistic. Maybe we'll fake them out, make everyone think we suck, then come out strong. Not our typical pattern, but we're consistently inconsistent enough. Or we might just get pummeled. I hope that's not the case, but, nothing too promising that we've seen in the past week or so. Michael, Cotter being ejected hurt the team today. The guy has a motor no matter what game it is. That's true. I want to rewatch that. I hope he might be facing a suspension for that. There was a lot of blood on the ice after that. That happened kind of right in front of me. Happened right in front of me. There was a nice pool of blood. I don't think he has a history, so maybe as a first-time offender, he'll avoid a suspension, but I'm curious to see how that goes. It looked pretty vicious. They only replayed it once very quickly, and it looked like, at the last second, he kind of got the elbow out there, cracked him in the head. He went down, blood. It was an ugly situation. And then Tony D'Angelo looked like wanted to get at him. I mean, Cotter didn't mean to do it, but it's still a reckless play regardless. He tried to apologize, and then Tony D'Angelo came up from behind and was trying to get at him. And nothing happened. But right away, I was like, that's gonna be the match penalty. And sure enough, while Cotter was in the box, they're like, match penalty, and then you see him get the gate and skate off. And I knew it was coming. Like I said, I'm gonna keep an eye to see if we're gonna hear anything about a suspension. I hope not, but if he does, maybe a game or two. I don't think it's gonna affect playoffs, obviously. Red Devil, that was not a game they played to win. They played to not get injured, and boy, did it show. Yeah, it looked like, it was kind of like the equivalent of a sparring session for boxing. We did the hockey version. Chico, I think the most tone-deaf part of these games don't matter is that the Devils team isn't sitting at like 105 points or whatever. They don't even have 90. Oh, I know, but we're locked in our spot, right? And so the games don't matter. But I agree, the optics of it are trash. Like, you have 89 points. Actually, what did the I wanted to see. What did Washington get in with last year? And they got dusted too. Everyone was talking about how bad they were. They were so bad. And they got in with 91. And I think they were one of the worst teams statistically to make the playoffs in forever. Yeah, they got in with 91 points. And then just got trounced in the playoffs. We very well may suffer the same fate. Dire Straits, 89 points is bag-worthy. Devil Dog 7 Ace on the precipice of a first 4-game win streak in 2+ years to 3-game losing streak. Wham, bam, just like that. Seriously, nobody should be surprised at this point. Yeah, I agree. Completely disgusting. In a game where, again, I understand the odds had us before that Bruins game overwhelmingly getting in the playoffs, but who cares? Have you no pride? Especially with the 4-game winning streak. It's just psychotic, right? That was our 13th attempt with a 3-game winning streak to finally get the 4th game in the past 26 months. This has spanned 2 years and 2 months. And now we're actually about 3 months. Now we're almost 27 months removed from the last 4-game winning streak. But 0-12 in the previous attempts. And now after that one, 0-13. And someone did the math. One of our resident math guys, I think Stick Figs and maybe someone else did. Shout out to whoever these were. But I said, what are the odds of a coin flip going the same way 13 times? And obviously I understand the math and the science is not exactly the same. But for the sake of just dumbing it down to an easier calculation, if you call each hockey game, right, a coin flip, 50-50, one team or the other has to win. The odds of flipping a coin and it landing on the same thing 13 times in a row, I believe, was 1 in 8,912, which was like 0.0000 something crazy percent. It's crazy. Montreal finished with more points. Absolutely. I think I said a couple weeks ago, I think both wild card teams will finish with more points than the Devils. And, we are blessed to be playing in a shitty Metro division, because without that, we would be on the outside looking in as well. Porsche GM, love the show. Thanks for the shout out. Of course, man. Hope you guys are enjoying your car ride home with that victory and that Sorokin shutout. I'm sure Patty was thrilled. His boy Sorokin with his 22nd of the career. Carlson, Keith deserves better. Bring in torch for honesty. He will tell it like it is. I'm not mad at Keefe outside of his like nonchalant demeanor with, because they're meaningless games, but we'll see. John Fay, I can't believe we're going to end the season under 90 points. We had to rely on the Flyers of all teams to beat the Rangers for us to clinch. Believe it. Oh, shut up, Val. Ace is crying over what was known a long time ago to some I'm not a delusional fan, but sometimes, I'll get overly excited from time to time. But in the end, I'm not delusional. I know that this team is very flawed on so many levels. It is what it is. But Dougie did take warm-ups today, and pretty much all signs indicate he will be ready for the playoffs. If he does, I think he might play a game before that as well. Lobsty, Ace, if we don't get Hamilton to the first round, we're definitely getting Dougie for the playoffs, and I think he's going to play a game before that. Devil Dog says, keep waiting for the Buffalo job so he can still live in Toronto with the family and do the long commute. Oh, God. I don't think so. Chico, I do think they can flip the switch, but I think that mentality is completely bullshit. You're still selling tickets, play all 82. Yeah, I agree as well. If the games don't matter, then they don't have to charge for tickets, right? Let's see how the owners feel about that one. That's true. That's true. Today, I think they announced today as a sellout, which it was far from. I don't know how they report these numbers, but tons of empty seats there today, which you expect in a quote-unquote meaningless regular season game before the playoffs. People are just waiting to go to the playoffs. I mean, it is what it is. Mark, the team has loser mentality written all over them. They know the Canes are going to beat them, so they don't really care. Their minds are already on golf Ace. I don't think that that's true necessarily, but I just don't like the limping into the playoffs. Like, get in playoff mode now. Brian J. Ace, you're right. This is a dress rehearsal. This is exactly what they will look like come the first round. The team isn't good. Team hasn't been good since December. They backed in because Metro is terrible. Can't say that you're wrong with any of that. Mortensen, only person on the bandwagon is PK Subban. Kane's about to sweep. I hope we don't get swept. Uncle Lou would have fired the head coach, started benching and trading people. It's completely true. At best, this team will lose to the Canes in a gentleman's sweep 4-1. George says fans pay money to see this performance. Yeah, it was a painful one. LJ, hitting the switch might be possible, but 9 shutouts against the 0-1 them thing. Can't win 4 in a row. A lot of not great stats going against them. Yeah, 9th time shutout this season. I mean, absolutely brutal stuff. John Fay, I hope we see Dougie in one of these last 2 games of the season. Win or lose, I just want to see Big Dougie. He'll definitely be in the playoffs, and I think he will play 1 game before the playoffs. Hopefully he could be a big spark to help this team because we need any spark we could get. I mean, would love to see Gritsuk, right? I mean, wow, that would have been nice. Every other team with a KHL guy got him over and into the lineup immediately. Carolina with their guy, Nicohischier or whatever the hell his name is, and Montreal with Demidov. But, we can't have nice things. It would certainly be nice on a day like today to have a guy like Gritsuk that could put the puck in the net. Metalander, bad move by Cotter in a meaningless game. Take a chance of retaliation and injury before playoffs. Think dummy. Yeah, it was one of those plays. It happened real quick. What's going on, Maria? She's sleepy. Kiefer must have seen me yawning. I actually saw an old man sleeping after the first period. I thought about videoing him, but I think that's kind of mean, so I didn't do it. But he was at the top of the section, and he was straight up knocked out. Slurp, where's Robbie Fatorik when you need him? Throw a few benches on the ice along with body slamming a few players. We need fire on and behind the bench. It's a whole new world. It's a whole new world. Yeah, you must be able to ask. I don't know that I've ever seen it, but you must have to. You must be able to. Let's see. Oh, shit. You might be right, Pat. That's what Keith said. I don't know if this is right, but when I Google it here, the AI overview says NHL teams. Oh, no, they do not lose. So you can. Yeah. Yeah, so he could have. Wait, now I'm trying to read this. Yeah, because then we would have been shorthanded. This team should be at the point where they're competing for conference finals after 22-23. Oh, Jace, no, I completely agree. That was supposed to be the turnaround, and that's why I've been forever preaching win now, win now, win now, maneuver like a win now team. We took one huge step forward with the 22-23 season and massive steps backward last year by missing. And that's why I was, yelling from the mountaintops last season about how damaging it was to miss the playoffs on so many levels. That was just completely unacceptable. And I do think it had lingering effects on this team going into this year and even now. Chico, if this team was actually bad, we wouldn't be this worked up. We know at least they're better than this. In these last couple of games, it's an effort thing. They're content to back into the playoffs. Yeah, fine. They're better than the last 3 games we saw, but in the end, they're not a great team. That's just the reality. Because if you cannot consistently win, then you're just a team that could play well every so often. Nicole says, is our relationship with this team considered emotionally abusive at this point? Well, Nicole, isn't this your profession or something along these lines? You tell me. As a layman who's not in the game, I at a quick scan, I would have to believe that our relationship with this team is emotionally abusive. But you tell me. You will know better than I would. Chico, to be honest, even if they do flip the switch and come out hard versus the Canes, I'm still going to be angry about the 3-game slide. I mean, listen, if they win the first round, I don't give a shit about any of this. Let's be real. I mean, it'll be a footnote. But, is that going to happen? Now, if it does, I'll be the first one to say, well, great game plan. Don't get hurt and go beat the Canes. But from the outside looking in, it doesn't look like this team is just magically going to be like, oh, it's the playoffs, guys. It's time to go out there and dominate against a veteran playoff-tested team when we were losing the week before to shit teams on home ice. Riot and Respect, they've won 17 games in 4 months since Christmas. If the Metro was a semi-competent division this year, they don't make the playoffs. Standard needs to be higher. Completely agree as well. We are an under 500 team since January. James, the only way this team wins anything in the playoffs is if Scott Stevens goes into the locker room and literally lights a fire under their asses. I don't think that'll be happening. Dire Straits, there are no standards with booze face, and especially these owners. Benjamin, you said it many times, Ace, this is not a team of men, literally Instagram hockey. I don't think the whole team is, and I do think we could use some more men, but I mean, losing 1-0 in the fashion we did today is just completely unacceptable. Jason, no, this team could score last year, couldn't play defense. Now we can defend but can't score. It's so true. Our problems just flip-flopped. Brian J. Ace, you keep saying it's possible, just like winning the lottery is. The team isn't winning around, maybe win 1 game. That is the likely outcome, but I'm still hoping that it happens. And don't be ridiculous. It's not the same as the lottery. I mean, by Vegas odds, I believe we're like a 2-1 underdog. Nowhere near the 1 in, hundreds of millions of chances of winning Powerball. Dean Smith, 95 teams sucked in the regular season. Always hope. Raised 3 kids to adulthood. Heard enough whining for a lifetime. Peace out. Let's go Devils. Dean, the only difference is the 95 Cup team had guys with heart and absolute legends and first ballot Hall of Famers. So while you are correct that it was a kind of mediocre team that went on a run, they did have 3 all-time legends on the roster in the great Martin Brodeur, Scott Stevens, Scott Niedermayer. And so it's hard to compare any team to them because in the end, while the team maybe underperformed in the regular season, the fact is they still had those legends on the roster at very young ages. When you look at this roster, you're like, oh, we have some good players, but nowhere near the caliber of those guys. Chico, Markey led in 1, and it wasn't his fault at all. I'm sorry, but at $8.8 million, that beginner hockey mistake can never happen on the ice, NHL ice from Timo. You just can't do that at all. It's a hard play to defend. Devil Dog says, but 1995 team was in Game 7, double overtime in the Eastern Conference Finals the season before. Obviously, the Stefan Matteau goal, the ever so painful loss to the Rangers. Oh, that's a brutal one. If the Devils found a way to win that game, I think they could have won the Cup in 94 and beat the Canucks. Chico says, Dean Smith, that 95 team was also largely the same when that was a world beater in 94 and 1 game away from the Cup Finals. Yeah, for sure. They didn't just come out of nowhere. It's completely true. Yeah, we are the cat. I said that a couple minutes ago. They made it with 91 points and limped in because no one else wanted to step up and claim the spot, and that's basically what's happening to us. at this point, we might not even have the 91 points that they had. Snell says the NHL taking notes from NBA stars sitting out games, load management. Every team started to do it. Wouldn't be surprised if Nico or Bratt gets a rest these next couple games. I think they will. I said that from the past week or so as well. Chico said the Caps team won 3 in a row to make the playoffs last season. Was it at the very end? Because I could have sworn I remember them not being too hot down the stretch, but other teams were just even worse than them. Jason said, why not play Casey then today? I think they wanted to give Nemitz another look because they know that in reality, Casey or Nemitz will not be playing unless there's another injury to the defense because Dougie's coming back. So I think he maybe just wanted to see, Nemitz hasn't played in a little bit. Maybe he just kind of wanted to see another look from Nemitz before the playoffs because once Dougie's back, then obviously he, that spot's gone for both of them. Snell, if this was a 1 versus 16 playoff format, we'd be playing the Jets, or 1 versus 8 would be playing the Leafs. Waxed either way. I do think the Jets are substantially better than the Leafs. And again, I think the Leafs are going to get knocked out in the first round by the Sens. James Valenti, we've been shut out 9 times this season. Today was number 9, I believe. Dean Smith says, I wish we had the Leafs. John, at this rate, I'm going to say it now. It is going to take the biggest of miracles for us to get past the Canes or even out of the first round. Well, the first round is the Canes. So, Lobster said if we went against Montreal in the playoffs, we'd actually have a good chance. I would have said that I agree with you a few weeks ago, but Montreal's had to really get their shit together and play an elevated game to get to where they are now. Chico, I just remember a Kobe quote about why he never took a night off. Some kid with a single parent is here tonight watching their only game of the season in person. Yeah, I mean, and I've heard quotes from other guys as well about people's first games or whatever. There were people there in the building today that was their first game to ever witness live. And for some people, that might be longtime fans, maybe their only game of the season. But in the end, there is a substantial amount of people that game does mean something to them. Whether, like I said, it was their first game they ever could get to, they were gifted tickets, their one game of the season, whatever it is, to kind of treat it as a throwaway thing is disrespectful to the paying customers, which are the fans. Mark, first time in NHL history that all four original 6 U.S. teams missed the playoffs. Wow. It's that Bruins, Wings, Rangers. Who am I missing for the U.S.? What did I say? Bruins, Rangers, Wings. Oh, my God. Oh, the Hawks. Yeah, duh. Yeah, it's pretty brutal. Chico, the last 2 minutes are the worst to me. They couldn't even control the puck long enough to pull Markey. Oh, yeah, it was brutal. It was brutal. I thought there was a split second where they could have done it when we were kind of gaining the ozone with maybe a minute. I don't know. It was closer to 2 minutes, but then we coughed it up immediately, and then Markey had to it was a mess. Getting him out was even a mess. Insane Pollock, my only hope is this is a reverse of 2002, where the Canes were underdogs going against us and shocked us in the first round. Listen, anything's possible. But my enthusiasm has definitely waned in the past couple of days, or the last few days. Nicole says, yes, as a relationship therapist, I personally feel emotionally wounded. Well, there you have it, Nicole. You answered your own question. I think we're all emotionally wounded. Cody, do we get swept by the Canes, or do we put on a show and maybe win in 6? In Jacob Markstrom we trust. That's our only chance, honestly. I can't. If we were to win, I can't see us winning a Game 7 in Carolina. And so I think our only realistic scenario of winning would be in 6. And it's how are we going to do that? But you never know. I'm hopeful. Devils in 6. Yeah. Chico, that's what I'm going with. Devils in 6. Ben, we simply lack the balls to compete with Carolina. That's the bottom line. No one fears us like they used to. No one's feared us in a very long time, guys. Let's be real. We finally got some grit, and it's still nowhere near enough, unfortunately. John Fay, the 95 team would kick the shit out of the team we had today, in my opinion. That's not even an opinion, John. That's a fact. The 95 Devils was a different level. Benjamin, 95 Devs do not compare to 75% of this team fashion show. Chico, now to be fair to Dean Smith, the team does have some great players, but also has way more passengers than that 95 team did. Oh, there's no comparison, man. That, like I said, that 95 team had 3. Well, at worst case, they're all on the NHL 100 list, right? So they're all-time greats. They're not like, oh, they were good all-stars. They're literally all-time greats. We don't have one player right now that will go down as an all-time great. That's just a fact. We have good players that will be perennial all-stars and whatever else. None of them will be in the echelon of the great Martin Brodeur, Scott Stevens, and Scott Niedermayer. Not happening. And then you get to the role players like the Stéphane Riches, the Kenny Danicos, the Claude Lemieux, Billy Guerins. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. It is night and day. Absolutely night and day. John, Ace, don't forget Claude Lemieux in 95. Heard Gomer in an interview how much of a stabilizing effect on him and how he installed a confidence-building mood. Yeah, Claude Lemieux is a legend. He's right above my head here. Right here. There's Claude. Most valuable player of the 1995 playoffs with that Conn Smythe. Devil Dog, wait, what's wrong with IG hockey? Sure, could use it now. We're not playing it in. It wins this game's in a hybrid of it. Want us a playoff series? I'm confused there. Hybrid of it won us a playoff series. The bubbles. In small doses, I don't mind it, but it can't be your team's identity. It's got to be kind of intertwined with playoff winning hockey, which we've seen this team play for, bits and pieces of games since Jack went down, but it's not consistent. Scott, do you remember when we had Snarl? What happened? I do remember. It was in 2024. Heavier, edgier, more violent. The team was engaged. Curtis McDermott was playing more. Dylan was fighting more. We were just a chippy team that had that swagger about us, and it's gone by the wayside. We're now, what did someone call it? Lighter, softer, more cordial. I don't know. You guys were making jokes about it, but we are the opposite of heavier, edgier, more violent right now. It's pathetic. Chico, Riche had a 40-goal season for the Devils, and I think 2 more 30-goal ones. I'd hardly call him a role player. I don't mean role play. I just mean just the overall roster of better players. Like Riche would be an all-star on this team. My point is it was just an overall better roster. If you want to go into like what role players like what Breedlin, everything about that team was better. John Fay, that 95 team was brutal in a good way. Great team. Love that team. Walt, blood game, not hockey related. Just want to say for anyone 40 and over, please get a colonoscopy or Cologuard for cancer screening. Don't be afraid of it. It could save your life. Just do it. Okay. What age do they recommend you do that at? Oh, man. I've had some friends that had issues that had to do it, and the whole experience sounded quite awful and terrifying. I got one of my buddies had some kind of issue, and I got a whole explanation of the process leading up to it, and I was like, oh boy. Devil Dog, 95 is long gone. That team, those players are never coming back. We're not built like that. We sound like Ranger fans slobbering over Messier that we like to make fun of. We've come full circle. Well, obviously they're never coming back, but someone made a point of like, hey, we could go on a run. Look at that 95 team. And the whole point of the conversation, was to talk about the differences of how that team just was already pre-established because they were a goal away from a Cup Finals appearance the year before, but B, that the roster was exponentially better than the roster we have right now. Dean said, had it done the stuff you drink before. Yeah, I heard all about the drink. Oh. Well, yeah, I just got diagnosed with cholera, so I'm saying this. They lowered the age to 40, definitely. Oh, man, well, I'm sorry to hear that. I hope that it's treatable and whatever you have to do, you have a swift recovery, my man. Now I'm going to be thinking about this. B-Poi, Peter Stastny was a legend, but played on a crappy Devils team. Should have went for it back then. Dean, hope you beat the cancer. Good luck to you. Mark, those successful Devil teams were successful because every player in the roster was held accountable. The Devils game intro once quoted Pat, and a steel chain is only as strong as its weakest link. That was a veteran-laced team. We had tons of vets that were fiery. That's just not – it's unfortunate, but the roster right now is just so far from that. And I think obviously the game's very different, but I think coaching and everything is more, more, I don't know what you want to call it, modernized with the modern times where, a lot of things that coaches and whatever could have gotten away, even maybe some of the veteran players could have gotten away with back then that they can't now. It's a different world we live in. It's a different world we live in for sure. And, yeah, stuff that went on back then just would not be acceptable by today's standards. And I think in some cases it's to the detriment of, teams that they don't have the same things kind of available to them. Chico, I think an underrated mistake was trading Toffoli last year too. That one will bother me for a long time. He makes such a difference on the team this year. Yeah, but then that comes at the cost of what, right? It's like $6 million. $6 million. That means you're not. I mean, obviously, the easy one people would point to is be like, "Oh, maybe you couldn't have. You wouldn't have signed Dylan," but like, who would have known the way everything played out the way it did? And do you really want Toffoli? What is it? How many years did he even sign for? Was it 3? At $6 million? Like, yeah, would he have helped for sure? But is that the best usage of cap dollars? Can you get someone maybe a little faster? I don't know. It's easy to play revisionist history, but I do think we could find someone that fits better potentially if other moves are made, obviously, to get rid of some salary. Dean Smith, the 2003 was not thought highly of to open another can of worms. Sorry. Yes, but Dean, you keep going down this road. The common denominator of all those teams were 3 all-time legends. 3 all-time legends, and 2 of them are visible. You got right here. You got, I'm trying to figure, the camera's opposite. Scotty and Marty are 2 all-time greats, as is Niedermeyer. With just those 3 guys alone, even if you just grabbed the rest of a roster off any other NHL team and threw them on the Devils, you're going to have some level of success when you have just amazing, one of the, in my opinion, the GOAT, obviously, the greatest goaltender of all time, then one of the best offensive defensemen of all time, and then one of the best overall defensemen, shutdown defenders, punishing hitters, leaders of men in Scott Stevens. And then again, the role players and depth guys on that team and the top end talent, it's just very different. Dogs. We had dogs on that team. Even some of the skill players were dogs. Well, thanks, Ace, and everyone. Didn't come on to garner sympathy, but I appreciate the positivity for sure. I just want to press to people that it's important. Also, a totally easy procedure. Oh, man. Chico, Toffoli would have come at the cost of Dylan and probably waiting on the Kova extension. I mean, it's a 30-goal scorer at $6 million for only 3 years. Yeah, but again, these are precious years. I don't like playing the revisionist history game. I would have liked another top 6 guy, and I love Toffoli. I'm a big Toffoli guy, but I just think there's too many things about his game that the money could have been spent better elsewhere. Yeah, you could use the money on a better player, but they didn't, and now they can't score for shit. It's true. We're gonna see. Maybe there's gonna be another sweeping off-season set of moves. What's going on, Devil Heaven 77? Well, anyways, I missed the beginning of the stream. Not really much to say since Keith basically said the goal is to avoid injury. I hate going to the playoffs like that. Doesn't build momentum. There is no momentum. We are going in reverse right now. Celluloid therapy. Above all, this is a slap in the face of the fans. You know, the people who stuck by you in the worst era this team ever had to not even show up repeatedly is quite frankly disgusting. Evan, very embarrassing. Oz played yesterday, had a long game, have been terrible of recent and shut us out. Why was long-term injury reserve money sat on? We cannot go on a 5-game skid. We need a W here. The law not spending the LTIR money 2 years in a row will obviously infuriate me. I'm not going to continue to beat a dead horse on this topic, but you all know my thoughts on it. I've talked about it in depth both last season and this season. And to me, it's just an indictment on an ownership group that unfortunately puts, profits in the bottom line above fielding a competitive and winning team. There's no other way to slice it, in my opinion. It's 2 years in a row. After last year, I had that theory, and people told me I was a conspiracy theorist and how crazy I was, but it was very damning to me after last year. But then when it happens now again for this season, where it's now 2 years in a row of the same exact thing, it's not a coincidence now. It's now a kind of standard operating procedure where, other teams would be salivating to spend that money. The Devils aren't giving Fitz the green light to do it, I don't think. So, I do think a lot of the complaints I have are with the ownership group. But with that being said, I think there's plenty of things I have issues with Fitz himself that go beyond the ownership group. But it is what it is. I mean, we're just in a dark time right now. LJ, literally all we needed was a deluxe version of Sprong or Glass. Could have gotten that weeks before the trade deadline. Of course, that's what proactive GMs would do. But Fitz hoped and wished. Sit and wait and wishing like Jack Johnson. And once again, couldn't get more of a, I'm not saying we needed to get like a star player, but a more impactful player. Even if honestly it was Glass and Zetterlund, like I wouldn't have been over the moon with that deadline day, but I would have accepted it. You look at Zetterlund, a guy like Zetterlund, you're like, okay, he's clearly at worst case an upgrade in our bottom six, and at best case is an upgrade in our top six. Like if for basically a second rounder, that was a no-brainer to me. And for people that are like, all these asset management clowns that want to get excited and applaud a stockpile cupboard full of draft picks, it's like we used the second rounder on Dumoulin. He's not part of the team's future. So if you're willing to use a second on him when our defense was pretty damn good by all accounts for most of the season, when our biggest pressing issues were at forward and goal scoring, if you're going to use a second on Dumoulin, why wouldn't you use a second on Zetterlund? It doesn't make any sense. Amagi got upgraded to glass seats and lounge access to witness a snooze fest on a weekend. Woohoo, baby. Brutal, man. I was there, Amagi. Terrible. LJ, 2 additional bottom 6 could have fixed this. Maybe. It would have put us in a better position for sure. Evan, I'm quite shocked. Devils did not bring any offense this one. We had shots, but felt like it was nothing very high danger, which you need against the Sorokin. It just looked like a lackluster effort from start to finish, outside of a couple minutes here and there. Devil Dog, Stevens was in his 13th year, 1995, fourth season here. Blues tried to lure him back, 1994. Lou took Blues to court and won tampering charges, which led to Parisi draft swap years later. Wait, Lou beat them for tampering charges a second time? I don't remember that. We basically got Stevens because they tampered with Brendan Shanahan. And you're telling me they tampered with Stevens again? I don't remember this. I have to look into this. Jim, I never want to see Bastian and Nemitz on the ice come playoff time, although there may be no choice here. Not Nemitz. Bastian is up in the air, in my opinion. Bastian, to me, it's a close call. I think there's a lot of decisions to be made in the bottom 6 for sure. And we very well may see different combinations in different games of the playoffs. I do think there's a very good chance of that, where you'll see guys shifted in and out, kind of like how we've seen in these past couple of weeks here with the different, combinations of bottom 6 guys that we have available to us. But Nemitz is not going to touch the playoff ice. It will be Dougie Hamilton, again, barring injury. Now, if there is an injury, then we're right back to the who's it going to be, Nemitz or Casey. I guess I have to include Chalowski on that list, but it seems like he's definitely been kind of pushed to the bottom of the depth chart for the defense, in my opinion, which is just like, what was the point of using assets to get Chalowski, right? Like, the list goes on and on. Like, what was the point of that? No, it didn't make any sense. Wise discernment. Owners have alligator hands when it comes to spending money on this team. I think the evidence is certainly there for sure, where you can't be called a conspiracy theorist for thinking that anymore. Celluloid therapy, above all, this is a huge slap in the face to fans who stuck by you in the worst era this team has ever seen. Disappointment after disappointment, least you could do is show up. But if guys aren't trying to get injured, man, it hurts. Devil Heaven playoffs another season by itself, as most of us know. Of course it is, but it's very discouraging to go in playing so poorly with limited offensive output. Chico, he might as well have kept Sharon Govich. His 29 points would be 9th on this Devils team and above Mr. $6 million himself, Andre Palat. Traveling Devil, Keefe is going for the only way up. The only way is up from here mentality. Oh, boy. Walt says that is 100% the biggest issue with playing to not get hurt. It's like these games are cheap to. It's not like these games are cheap to go to, especially if you take your family. Yeah, do a promotion. Do 70% off. So like, we're not going to play very hard, so you get a discount. Benjamin, I didn't even watch for a decade due to the we'll get him next year attitude. Sick of hearing that. There's only one reality, and that is the present. We need to win now. Couldn't agree more. Need to operate as a win-now team, but the deadline came, and that was not win-now maneuvering, in my opinion, and in the opinion of most people that could kind of see through the smoke and mirrors. That's not winning now. Those aren't win-now moves. Win-now moves is what Steve Stais did in Ottawa, getting Zetterlund and Cousins. Those are win-now moves. Absolutely win-now moves. Devs fan 125 just joined. Do you think Cotter gets suspended? I think it's close. I don't think he has a history of hits like this. So as a first-time offender, I could see it going either way. I have to watch the replay again. I honestly haven't seen it since the arena, and they only showed it once pretty quickly. Let me see if I could find it. Let's see. He actually wasn't looking at him. Let me see this again. He wasn't looking at him when he made contact. Okay, from the other angle, it actually looked worse. Ooh, I mean, in the end, they look at the kind of result of the play, which he went down in a heap and there was blood everywhere. I'm going to say no suspension, but I wouldn't be shocked if he gets a game or two. But he wasn't even really looking directly at him when he hit him. Looked like he was looking at the puck, and you could probably see him out of his peripheral vision. I'm going to go no suspension, but I won't be surprised if he gets one or two. Evan, we lose 3 straight at home versus teams not in the playoff position, and it happened versus Canadian teams. Ottawa, Calgary, Vancouver recently as well. We are not good at all at home. So sad for season ticket holders. Yeah, I mentioned this at the top of the show. It's our second 3-game losing streak at the Rock in the past 3 weeks. And this one is even worse, in my opinion, because it was 3 teams that were eliminated from the playoffs before the games were played. And yeah, we lost all 3 of them, and we've only scored 4 goals in total in all 3 games. And we haven't scored a goal now for 114 minutes and counting. Pathetic. Ace, what are we thinking about Dougie and the Wings? I mean, Dougie should be a huge boost to this team, hopefully on the ice and in the locker room. Can't wait till he's back. Anytime you get a guy like Dougie back, that's a win. Chico, at Benjamin, if you didn't watch for a decade, I don't want to hear it. Laugh my ass off. A lot of us suffered through these dark years. Don't cry if you didn't see Steve Bernier on the first line. John Fay, if they aren't going to show up to play hockey like they have these past 3 games, just sit them to the playoffs. I'm sure there are prospects waiting to get a chance to shine in the big leagues. Yeah. If you're going to half-ass it, right, why not give minor league guys a look? Maybe we get Brian Hallinan again. Where's Hallinan? Jim Bean, too bad Gritsuk won't be available for us. Could have really used a guy who could score. I kind of went on a tangent about that before as well. It's a complete shame that we have a guy like him right there for the taking. He could be thrust into our playoff lineup, and instead we are, deciding to save him, quote unquote, save his entry-level year for next year. I think that's a grave mistake, but it all just is, again, part of the loser mentality, and back to everything that I've said about the deadline day. That's just another example of that. And it's sad. And it's even more sad that on deadline day, Fitz talked about Gritsuk potentially coming over to try to use that as a spin to lessen the blow of his pathetic deadline day. And then it turns out that not only, it was irrelevant to me. And I was like, when he said it, I was like, Gritsuk coming over, great. That doesn't exonerate your pathetic deadline day. That's an ancillary move that should have been happening regardless. That's not something you pitch as oh, but we also have this. That has nothing to do with deadline day. If you're a GM who's doing your job, you're trying to bring guys like that over on top of what you're trying to do on deadline day. But the fact that he mentioned it as if that's like some sort of like that's a real deadline day move, which it isn't. And now we fast forward, what is it, a month, 5 weeks or so? And it's like, that was a lie too, because now we are in the position to bring them over, and they're not even doing that. It's crazy. Beachmaster, the thought we could have got Zetterlund back just pissed me off. Oh, for sure. A lot of people are pissed off. Chico, I was here for Nicohischier and the Binghamton Devils in 1819. I don't want to hear from anyone who didn't watch about anything. It's been a painful run. Devil Dog, he traded up twice in the 2003 draft. We were supposed to pick last for winning the Cup. He exercised option to swift draft positions with Blues for winning summer 94 tampering case. Samuel said, as much as I hate to say it, this team is losing me. I could totally get it. Evan, I mean, you look at Kane Senators, they have nothing to play for, and they're putting forth respectable efforts. After the Rangers game, we have win and tank. Unacceptable to me, at least. Play for next, man. I agree. Just seeing just, looks like you're showing up and collecting a paycheck. Chico, my main problem with Fitz is it doesn't seem like he has any long-term idea of what he wants to do with assets. He trades Shara for Toffoli, then Toffoli's out the door, and now the team can't score. I don't think there's a plan. I think it's just kind of chaos theory. Chico, so he's probably going to try to bring in another top 6 winger this offseason. He keeps having to fix problem he creates for himself because he's objectively a bad GM. Completely agree. Completely agree. Devil Heaven, we need a lot of depth. A lot of this depth, long-term playoffs, also first round. Evan, maybe a trip out of New Jersey to Boston is what we need. Same scenario happened after horrendous homestand versus Canadian teams at home. We went to Chicago and Minnesota and looked totally different. I just saw it on something the Cotter hit. And you could tell he was somewhat remorseful afterwards. Cotter may be a game for the hit, but horse dogs? John Fay, Chico, so what you're trying to say is Fitz is stuck on an unfinished loop of mistakes he tries to fix, then makes more to fix. I would say that's a pretty good synopsis. Devil Dog, Judge favorite for Lou and Devils in 99 against the Blues for their 94 Stevens tampering case. Lou had 5 years to exercise option to swap draft picks with the Blues. But this is a separate case from when we were awarded Stevens as compensation. This is a second one, you're telling me? Well, I don't think he deserves a suspension, but I have a feeling he's going to get a game just because that would be our luck. Scopes, isn't Siegenthaler coming back before the playoffs? No, I don't think Siegenthaler is. He was on the ice, but not even in full equipment. I think that was more of just kind of, restlessness, if you will. That would be another great bonus if that was to happen. But I do think he is that, it seems like he's not coming back. But at this point, who knows? It seemed like Dougie was done for the year as well. And then miraculously he showed up on the ice and now he's playing in the playoffs. So I don't know. Chico, actually Fitz is really historic for inclusion and diversity. It's really important for representation that the NHL finally has its first goldfish GM. Oh, man. Maria, IG hockey or not, Jack can score. Said it last game, we'll say it again. We are missing his offense. Of course. Anytime you have a guy like Jack and then you don't have him anymore, you're going to see it. And I'm sure all of our offensive numbers, although I do think, oddly enough, or I don't know if it's still the case, but I believe as of a game or two ago, our power play percentage actually went up, I think, without Jack Hughes, which is interesting. But Cody Skills, thoughts on the 2012 Devils team? What happened? What happened was, well, first of all, they were a good team, but I would say they weren't a great team. They went on a very good run. And in the end, their miraculous comeback bid from down 3-0 was thwarted. It died in LA after Rooney and his clowns gave Bernier a major in Game 6, and we got 3 goals scored on us, and that's all she wrote. Had we found a way to win that Game 6 in LA and force a Game 7 in New Jersey, I do think we would have won. Benjamin, as usual, there just doesn't seem to be a master plan here. Every time we get together here, all of us are scratching our heads trying to understand what is going on. Maddening. Yeah, it seems like chaos theory, in my opinion. Just helter-skelter all the time. Devil Heaven 77 Ace, what do you think about the college hockey final? Oh, man. Yeah, it sucks. I really wanted to see our guys get it done. Obviously, head coach of BU, former Devil, two-time Cup champ Jay Pandolfo, and I did interview him about a month or so ago, maybe a little longer than that now. I'm working on the edits. I hope to get that out very soon. But Jay Pandolfo interview on Running with the Devils coming out soon. Love me some Jay Pandolfo. But I wanted to see him get it done. Obviously, our boy Yegorov and net, the prospect, the Devils prospect that I am hands down the most excited about is Yegorov, without a question. Had a little bit of a shaky start. Some unfortunate kind of things happened, and it just got away from him in the third period. But I will say, overall, one of the better hockey games I've watched in a while from start to finish, really. At any level. I mean, there was a good amount of physicality. There was some great plays, some great saves. We had some drama with video reviews. I had a little bit of everything. And I did think BU was going to mount the comeback in the third, but it wasn't meant to be. And obviously LeChance as well, Devils property. And they mentioned that he's expected to turn pro and sign soon, which I thought was odd. So maybe we'll be hearing news about Shane LeChance joining the Devils at some point. I don't know if, when he said soon, what he meant by that. But it seemed like, from the way it was, the context of the conversation seemed like very soon, something to keep an eye on. But overall, I thought it was a great game. Sucked that BU didn't get the win. Like I said, all the Devils ties, Pando is the coach, LeChance and Yegorov on the team. But very exciting game and hell of a season for the BU Terriers. Evan, I mean, sit guys if guys are not into it. We need to see something out of this group at Boston and the finale at home versus the Wings. Don't count on it, man. Chico says, Maria, I'd rather have a team of IG hockey players than a team of whatever the hell this is. These are guys just collecting checks and doing what they're told, which is don't get hurt and whatever. But again, is that great business? How many people that aren't diehards are going to see a game like today and they're going to be like, I'm paying how much to go watch this team get killed in the playoffs? I think they should start looking at it from that sort of business perspective. Walt, okay, got to bail and start making dinner. I'll be at the game Wednesday, so hopefully they actually show up and play for the final game of the regular season. Let's go Devils. Good night, Walt, man. Take care. Evan, I hate how we see the effort out of other clubs with nothing to gain, and we are stuck in quicksand. Get back to playing better hockey, guys, fast. Yeah, there's tons of other teams that have nothing to play for, and they're not just laying down and getting crushed. Chico, Shane LeChance might sign, but he lights a fire under this team after coming off a rough NCAA championship loss. I mean, I don't know why they wouldn't bring in him and Gritsuk. I mean, that's something that I could get somewhat excited about. A potential goal scorer in Gritsuk and a guy that could be maybe a phenomenal bottom sixer with some big size and a little bit of feistiness and LeChance. I mean, that would be something I think for fans to kind of rally around and the team as well heading into the playoffs. But I don't know. That'd be strange. If LeChance plays in the playoffs, I'd be shocked at this point. Oh, man, I'm getting the allergies, man. Traveling Devil, the NHL will only be doing the Devils a favor if they suspend Cotter for a game or two. Management doesn't even want these guys on the ice till playoff time. Fins Up says, do you think if we get swept, Fitz gets fired? Absolutely not. Fitz is safe. I'm not saying I agree with it, but that's the reality. Dean Smith says 2012 Jonathan Quick happened. I mean, yeah. He obviously was a big part of that team. They had some weapons. Dustin Brown and Kopitar and freaking Doughty. I mean, they had some guys. I don't think you can send picks on this. No, to my knowledge, you cannot. Evan, really want to see Dougie out there. We need a spark of some sort. And love of anything, please score some goals. Yeah, Dougie can maybe help in that department as well. Yeah, Yegorov didn't have a great night, but I don't think a lot of the goals I can't blame him for. A couple he probably wanted back, but Evan, no energy. A lot of me middling right now, going through the motions. Yeah, it's what it seems like. Double Dog, yes, Stevens was a restricted free agent in summer '94. Blues wanted him back and offered him a restricted free agent contract, but we matched the offer and kept him, and Lou accused him of tampering and won in court. Oh, my God, I'd love to see all the details. Like, how do you prove that? That's got to be so hard. Samuel says it's way more than a better fourth line. Without upgrades to the second and third window closing, need to see some real grit and scoring out of the third line especially. I agree, which is, again, why I've been screaming win now, the window's open now since 22-23. Again, for those that may not have heard the first 100 times I've said it on this channel, this is jesperbratt and nicohischier's 8th season in the National Hockey League. 8th season. And these guys have won a single playoff round and 6, count them, 6 total playoff games in their careers. That is absolutely disgusting. I am disgusted. I did see a couple things about Dahan, and supposedly like he had a meltdown to the media, and then he was going to run his mouth some more, but then someone calmed him down. I'll look into more of that later. I just saw a couple seconds of it. Traveling Devil, the 2012 memories need to be washed away with a cup win. Well, they would never be washed away from me, even with a cup win. It would obviously ease the pain a little bit, but there's no washing those things away. The scarring incidents like that are permanently ingrained in my brain, and the 2001 series as well. Evan, always going to be a supporting believer, but we are better than this trash right now. Guys have the level. Get back to it. All we could hope for. Cody Skills, I think we win the cup in 5 years, but not with our terrible GM fits. I mean, maybe we could luck into one, but there's a lot of things at work here that, unfortunately, are going to make it hard. We're going to need a lot of things to go our way. Devil Dog 7, Yegorov really got fooled on that one goal, but he'll learn. He's a young kid, guys. Super, super young, and he's only going to get better. Benjamin, the big money seats are mostly owned by some LLC. They hand out those seats, and some of the people have never been to a hockey game before, same when we were in the Meadowlands. Yeah, it's hard to draw. Even when the Devils were lethal, going on deep runs every year at the old building, it was still hard for them to sell tickets. That's the reality. John Fay, if Dougie scores in the first game back after injury, empty or not, the building is going to blow sky high. Well, we only have one home game left for the regular season. I think his first game back is probably going to be a regular season game. I think it'll either be against the Bruins or against Detroit. Devil Heaven says, stick to the plan, continue the building blocks. You like the future is bright plan, Devil Heaven? The future's been bright for a long damn time now. LJ, I can never forgive Jonathan Quick. Rangers also lost to him, and instead they gave him an extension and a player's award. When he was a free agent a few years ago, I wanted him as a potential, as a guy that could be a backup or potentially a starter when we were in just complete disarray with the goaltending. Fins up says, I think the Canes win in 5, unfortunately. I could see that. Cody Skills, Dougie Hamilton, Game 3 OT winning on my birthday was crazy. 422. It was always a great one. Fins up, why does Don? It's true. He's in the league, but yeah. Kyle, I got to be honest. Since clinching, I haven't cared as much about these regular season games. Continue to get Marky in rhythm, avoid injuries till Canes, and let's roll F the Canes. Yeah, but man, we're limping in. Like I said, we're the deer that got hit by a car, and we're just getting off the road over here. You want to see the team going with some sort of confidence, some sort of momentum, and we're going in on the complete opposite, hobbling like we're injured. I would love to be wrong and just see them come out and they look like a different team. And it's like, well, I guess there was a switch they could just flip. I just have not seen that too often where you see a team just turn it on like that. It's not very likely. Pellick was pissed after the hit. Yeah, he slammed his helmet. I think someone said he yelled at, he called Cotter a dunce or something. I'm going to go back and watch all this after. I was at the game, obviously, and I got home and then jumped right on here. So I haven't been able to see anything, any of the reports or any replays or anything outside of what they show in the arena. And even the hit, they showed it from one angle on replay very quickly. And at the game, it's not the easiest to kind of see what's what, but they only played it once. But I did see pretty clearly, even at the arena, that I was like, oof, this could be suspension worthy. I hope not. And after seeing the replay just a couple minutes ago, when I looked it up online now, I ended up seeing a different angle, and you could tell he's not even looking at him when the hit gets delivered, which I think would be in his favor. Like, if you're staring at a guy when you deliver a hit like that, I think it's a little more kind of an egregious thing where you can't really defend yourself against it per se. I mean, there's always something you could say to try to make it seem not as bad. But when you're clearly not looking at the guy and you're looking at the puck and you kind of make that contact, I think it's a lot easier to try to, claim whatever you're going to claim, that it wasn't intentional and blah, blah, blah. Benjamin says, Cody, that's the attitude that sunk me. We could all be nuked into orbit in 5 years. There's only the present. I agree. Fins Up says, Metro was shit. That's why we made it. That's completely true as well. Completely true. We're going to be the worst team in the playoffs. John Fay, in my opinion, if we get past the Canes, and that's a big if, capital INF, we should not have that much of a problem making it to the Eastern Conference Finals, but the way they are playing, chances are it may not happen, sadly. No, I believe if you beat the Canes, then anything can happen, right? And it's like, wow, that's going to be a huge emotional boost to the team. One that we've struggled with historically, obviously, going back to other eras of the team even, that we've struggled with. And I would say that it could very well be, if they get out of the first round, it could be an Eastern Conference Finals appearance or further. But again, that's a capital I and a capital F. I am still sticking with my preseason prediction of Eastern Conference Finals. I know many of you will call me crazy. I am putting that much faith and trust and belief in my man, Jacobmarkstrom. In Marky we trust. Hopefully this magical switch to flip exists. He flips that mother, and Marky comes out guns blazing, and somehow we beat we beat the Canes and go on a miracle run. Would love to see it. Devil have an ace. You can't not draft like these geezer teams, Rags, Bolts, Nashville. Are you talking about trading picks? What do you mean? Or you just mean you can't draft bad? I'm trying to understand what you're saying. Chico, I mean, I don't think the team is playing awfully overall. It's just we're not seeing in the same effort in spots where we would if they were 100% playing to win. Don't try to sugarcoat it, Chico. They've been playing like shit. 4 goals in 3 games. Or I'll even take it back. No, that was a bad defensive game too. Yeah. Overall, I do have faith in the defense and the goaltending being solid in the playoffs. I'm not that worried about that. Obviously, is there going to be breakdowns and little mistakes and stupid shit? Sure. But overall, I think the defense and goaltending will be fairly good, especially with Dougie coming back. Where I worry is what we saw tonight. Like, is Markey going to give up a second period goal? We trail 1-0, and it's like we have no offense whatsoever, and we lose games 1-0 like we did today, or a 2-1, right? Where Markey gives up two goals that weren't really his fault, and then we score 1 and we lose 2-1. The offense is the biggest question mark, and it's even more so what makes me enraged about the whole Gritsuk situation. If he's there for the taking, he should 1,000% be on this playoff roster. Kyle, honestly, though, Ace, we've been hobbling since January, but you never know which Devil team will show up. Very inconsistent, but that's why you play 7 games. No, completely agree. The tale of 2 teams. Can we get the team that can be competitive against good teams to show up for the Carolina series? I'm hoping they can, but I am, if I'm being honest, I'm very discouraged by what we've seen these last few weeks. In the past 3 weeks, we've seen 2 different 3-game losing streaks at home. And this most recent variety is against 3 teams that were not in the playoffs. And we're 0-3, 4 total goals, and we haven't scored a goal in 114 minutes. That is a damn long time. 6 minutes into the next game, we'll be at 2 full games consecutively, 120 minutes of no goals. It's like that commercial with Soros, no goals. No goals. Benjamin, we have 0 momentum going into the playoffs. Keith is correct. They have been offensively challenged all year. We have 0 secondary scoring, and we continue to blow up the bottom 6 this offseason. Yeah. You are completely correct across all marks there as well. We're going to need the bottom 6 to get a couple goals in a playoff round. Would love to see some goals from the defense, whether that's Dougie, Luke. I'll take a fluke one from a guy like Dilly, Kovacevic, wherever they could come. I'm not picky. We need contributions from everywhere. And the big guys got to be the big guys. Overall, Bratter's been kind of quiet lately. We're going to see. Devil Dog 7, 2003 draft. We win the cup. Instead of automatically picking last at 30 overall, we swap with Blues at 22, then trade up with Edmonton to 17 to steal Parisi. That's how we picked so high that year. You had some great wheeling and dealing by Uncle Lou, huh? And Zach Parisi was a great draft pick for the Devils, obviously. It's a shame he couldn't stick around and retire a Devil, but we all know how that went. But still, What an era, and what a tough bastard Zach Parise was. Devs fan, why is Dowling playing over Lazar? Lazar is one of the hardest workers, and Dowling doesn't even have a role. I think Keefe is just trying to see what sticks in that bottom six. We have a lot of guys competing for those spots, and really overall, as a whole, they've all been fairly underwhelming. And so he just keeps throwing them out there and seeing what could happen. Fins up, how do you feel about Keefe? I think he's done a good job with the team. I do think, I've been saying for months now, we've had several AHL level players in our lineup for the majority of the last couple months. And I think he got them to, especially when Jack went down, kind of morph their game into more of a, away from that maybe flashier kind of game to more of a hardworking, honest playoff type hockey game. And got us where we are now, which is limping into the playoffs. I do think some other coaches, we would have just completely imploded and missed the playoffs. So I have to give him credit there. I don't like his attitude towards his attitude after these losses about how it's like, oh, we're just trying to do some things and guys not to get hurt. I do think that's also part of loser mentality, but I think that's also an indictment on what the modern day league is as well. Like, I don't like that, but I'm not going to kill him for it. It's just, I don't agree with it. But overall, I think he's done a good job with a pretty poor hand that was dealt to him. And if you look at the roster, it's not a great roster. It's really not. Chico, I still miss Parise. You want to talk about a guy who gave you 100% game 1 to 82 and however many playoff games? Zach Parise did not ever take a shift off. Zach is a throwback, guys. Another, pound for pound, probably, in my opinion. I was talking to one of my buddies about this the other day. Pound for pound, Zach Parise may be one of the toughest players in Devils history. Not a big guy, but very strong on his skates, very sturdy. He worked out, had little guns on him, very, very solid core and lower body. And he could go to dirty areas. He could score on breakaways. He would go for rebounds, deflections, in tight. He could beat you with the little wrister. His tool bag was very nice. Zach could do it many different ways. And he was a monster for the Devils. And that's why he was a massive, overwhelming fan favorite while he was here. And that really was gutting when we lost him. But, time does heal most wounds. And overall, Zach will still forever be one of my favorite Devils of all time, even though it sucks the way he left. But I understand why he left. But he just played an honest, hardworking game. And, he's just a throwback, man. He didn't give a shit. He would take a beating and keep on going. Not a big guy, but huge heart. And he was a gamer. Absolutely love the kid. Zach Parise, beast. For those of you that lived through the Zach Parise era, you know what I'm talking about. John, wish the league would go back to the old playoff format of 1-8. It provided more variety and was more fair. Sick of the Canes all the time. John, I could not agree with you more. Another one of my buddies sent me, I forget who posted it. Some online hockey, one of these outlets, posted a poll, like, which do you prefer, the current playoff format or the old format of the 1-8? And the poll was overwhelming. It was something like 95%. It was, I think Steve the Maniac sent it to me. And he sent me the poll and he was like, look at this. Because me and Steve the Maniac have talked about this forever now. We're like, this format sucks. So he came across a poll. He sent it to me and he was like, look how bad it is. I wouldn't have thought it would have been that overwhelming. I would have thought it was maybe 85-15. It was 95-5 in favor of the old playoff format. And then Steve the Maniac writes, you literally can't get people to agree on 95% of anything, which is completely true. Outside of the sky is blue, you could post a poll on almost anything and you're not going to get 95% of people to agree. And that's something that hockey fans in unison overwhelmingly support the old playoff format. And I could not agree more. I hate the brackets, these forced kind of bullshit matchups to try to create rivalries. Just give us the old way. 1-8, 2-7, 3-6, 4-5. And then it just continues on highest and lowest. The most logical, common sense thing that they had to tamper with. And I hope one day we get it back. I don't know what it would take for that to happen. I don't really know. But I would love to see it happen because I hate the current format. I have no interest in Marner, Fins up. I need a different brand of player. I need a little bit more sandpaper. I just think he's another skilled guy that when the tough gets going can get beat up on and kind of disappear. I think he's a great player, but for the kind of money he's going to want, I would much prefer to spend that money elsewhere. Not to mention we were not going to be able to afford him anyway. I think he's going to get $13 million at least. It's crazy. Traveling Devil, Canes are bad on the road. Devils just need to take one of the first two to have a chance. I agree. A split in Raleigh is everything. Coming home 1-1, oh my God. Imagine if that happened, then we somehow won both at home. I mean, obviously this is crazy talk, but splitting in Raleigh, then winning both at home, going back to Carolina for game 5 with them down 3-1 and all the pressure of the world on them not to blow it at home. But who knows? It's going to be a battle. I just hope we see competitive games in a competitive series. Nicole, we will face the Canes first. They're the team I'm most concerned about. It'd be nice to win at least a round. Yeah, they're one of the tougher teams, and obviously give the Devils fits. It would be great to beat them, and then I think the team would be super fired up, feeling like on cloud 9. No, but nothing can stop me. I'm all the way up. It'd be amazing to get out of that first round. Beachmaster says we're going to win despite management. I certainly hope so. And St. Pollock, yeah, we have no cap for either of them for sure. Outside of trading massive salary out some way or another. Chico, I mean, this team does still have the pieces for a run. Bratt, Nico, Luke, Timo, Dougie back in time, Markey, and some good depth and Sprong and Glass. Yeah, but if you look at other teams and you're like, we just don't stack up. For me, it's more so in the depth, right? Like, even with Jack out, Bratt, Nico, Timo is a pretty good top 3, and then obviously Dougie and Luke on the back end with Markey and Net. But when you look at some of the other teams' bottom 6, you're like, you can't with a straight face think that, Sprong and Glass are the answers to that. But in the end, this is why they play the games. You never know. Markey alone could bring us deep. Devil Dog Parisi, never the same after Kyle Clifford injured his knee in LA, was on way to being a 100-point winger. Zach was great, man. What a legend. Cody, at the end of the day, we don't know how this team will play out. Only hope, but that shouldn't be the reason. Chico, the results are shit because they're not playing at 100%, but I don't think it's entirely fair to say they're playing dog shit. I'm not saying I'm all right with it, but to me, this team is playing at 70%. If that's the case, then I'm even more concerned. If that was a 70% effort, oof. Yeah, they're also nowhere near good enough to be playing at 70% right now. It's correct. Devil having an ace. A lot of teams don't want to go rebuild mode. It's rare to rebuild on the fly. We tore it down and rebuilt. But what does that mean? The future has been bright for a decade, my man. Again, this is the 8th season. 8th season for Bratter and Nico. They've been talking about how bright the future is since we drafted them. They've won a single playoff round and 6 playoff games. Keefe should get a free punch on Fitz after game 82. Oh, man. I would love to see that. LJ says if Mercer scored on half his chance this season, game 1 would have been at the Rock. Or how about if we just scored on 20% of our breakaways as a team? Same thing would apply. Devs fan, thanks. Hit the thumbs up for Ace. Thanks. Hit the thumbs up for your boy. Lance, the team is emotionally void. Back in the day, there were plenty of players that would not put up with this effort, with the effort as of late. Someone needs to step up and get the players' attention already. Again, veteran leadership. I've talked about this time and time again. I don't think we have many, but I think Markey's one of them. I think Brendan Dillon is one of them. To some extent, Palat. But we don't have a ton, and that's something that I've always, when drawing parallels, and I know a lot of you hate this, but there's nothing else I could do other than draw parallels to not only previous Devils Cup winners, but Cup winners of other teams. And one of the commonalities is when you look at most of these teams, there is a solid core group of veterans who have been down the road before and won. Period. You look at these rosters, and there's always guys that have been there before and are winners. We don't really have that right now. We're kind of hoping to form that, but they don't really have it. Chico says prime Zach Parisi would be a god on this team. He had all the skill in the world, but played like the craziest grinder you'd ever seen. Absolutely. First line talent with fourth liner work ethic. For sure. Dean Smith said pound for pound would say Randy McKay. Yeah, but he was also a bigger guy, so that's kind of brings in a different element. I mean, I would accept him on the list for sure. Chico, he had never had a center to play with as good as Jack or Nico. He'd have 200 points on either of their wings. I mean, with all due respect to Travis Zajac, who had a pretty solid NHL career, and he's another one of those guys that it sucks that, he just rotted here for so many years, going through kind of, changes and turnover in the post-2012 run. very solid center, but agree that, he's definitely not on the level of a Jack or Nico, offensively speaking. And with a premier kind of setup guy like a Jack even, Zach would have been filthy. Chico says, if it were up to me, I'd go 1-8 and add a play-in round like what the NBA does. I hate the play-in rounds. I can't even follow what baseball's doing anymore. It's just ridiculous. Just make it 1-8 and that's it. I don't need to, I'm sure the leagues love play-in rounds because it's more money and it's more bullshit TV ratings and more, everything about money. But it's like, at some point, no, this is it. You have to be in the top 8 to qualify. If you don't, you don't. I'm not looking for reasons to keep teams' hopes alive longer than they should be. Zach was a monster. Yeah, I'm with you. No play-in. I'm with you. Traveling Devil says, Gary says the format now makes it so playoff series aren't determined in January. I don't think that would be the case either. Bettman's an idiot. I can't wait till he retires. Where does Marner go? Ooh, that's a good question. I think, aren't the Rangers supposed to have a mountain of cap space with some of the moves they made? I wouldn't be surprised if they have the money if the Rangers make a play for him. That has Rangers written all over it. I can't see him going back to Toronto. But who knows? Maybe. I guess a lot of it depends on how their playoffs work out, right? I mean, I would imagine that's going to play a big part of it. Chico, I love the play, and it makes those mid-teams way more interesting from a storyline point of view. Yeah, but are the Capitals a fluke? Oh, Chico's been shitting on them all year. The Capitals are a legitimately good team, but I think this year they're riding high off the emotional payoff of Ovi breaking the record and really good goaltending. I think in a normal year, they're third in the Metro team. Devil Dog, no more 2020 plans and artificially created number 1 overall draft picks for play-in playoff teams like the Rangers. LJ says, Caps or Leafs, whoever plays Ottawa is done first round. I'm with you, LJ. I've been talking about this for a couple weeks. I think Ottawa is going to shock some people. Shit, Ottawa going to the Cup wouldn't surprise me. I think they have a nice mixture of everything, and they're starting to come together at the right time that is going to make them lethal in the playoffs. I can't wait to see Brady Tkachuk's playoff debut. He is going to be an animal out there. Hey, Ace, favorite Metallica tune? Ooh. It's probably cliche, but I'm going to probably go Sandman. Hold on. Preliminarily, I'm going to say Sandman. I do like The Unforgiven. I'm probably going to still go Sandman. Probably Sandman. Chico, honestly, I think this team needs another shutdown center right now. So much of that goes on Nico, and he does it insanely well, but I wonder how much of his offense is nerfed because he has to do it all. Oh, a ton. And I think that's why, he's in that world where he kind of has to be, a center that puts up points and also play the John Madden-ish role to some extent. And it's not easy. For sure, it's not easy. And he's winning faceoffs. It's like he's your everything, right? It's like he's one of your best offensive players. He's your arguably best defensive forward, and he has to win faceoffs. And he's out there on power plays and penalty kills. It definitely is taxing to be a jack of every single trade there is on the Devils. Nicole, again, this team tends to step up and play with more gumption when there's more physicality. I agree, but heavier, edgier, more violent has been on a vacation since Christmas for the most part. Cody, who do you think is leaving if this team doesn't get anywhere? Do you mean like who we don't bring back, or what do you mean by that? Yeah, playoff rounds aren't determined in January. We basically know we were playing the Canes since then. Bettman is a moron. For sure. The 1-8 keeps it way more kind of up in the air. Devil Heaven said, I remember having a beer with Randy Mack in the room before morning skate. That's amazing. Cavs fans gotta be chill. Their owner literally assaults their fans at games. Is that Leonsis still? Horseman Seek Metal. Wait, who's still playing right now? Bruins, Pens, Leafs are playing the Canes. Wow, 1 goal on 4 shots. Sens beat the Flyers in OT. Damn. Nicole, can Heavier Edger Morvan come back from vacation for the playoffs? That'd be nice. That would be nice. That would be very nice. I hope it happens. For whom the bells for whom the tongue tied. For whom the bell tolls. Wow. Is definitely a great Metallica song too. Yeah, I still would probably go Sandman because it's tied to so many things like memories. So I think a lot of songs on my lists are kind of influenced by just like times of life and stuff. But For Whom the Bell Tolls, definitely a great song. There's a lot. But I'm not like a huge Metallica guy. I just like a lot of their songs. Steve the Maniac's a huge Metallica guy. Let's ask him his favorites Metallica song. I think he might say, if I had to guess what he's going to say, for some reason, I think he might say Master of Puppets. Motor Breath is my favorite. How many wildcard teams got close to a cup or how major upset? I mean, they haven't been doing this for that long, so it's a limited history. Seek and Destroy is a good one. They play that at Devils games, actually. I like the new album, 72 Seasons. When did that come out? Oh, it came out a couple years ago. Actually, almost 2 years ago exactly. April 14th, 2023. I don't know that I've heard anything off this. I feel like once I became a certain age, I just fell off of all, like, I don't know anything anymore, like anything newer for the most part. Outside of like some newer shows or movies, but even that, there's just so many now that people are like, oh, did you see this? And I'm like, I don't even know what that is. I don't even know what that is. Going old school, holier than thou, Ride the Lightning is my pick. David Hatch, love the show. Keep it up. Hey, quick question. Am I gay? I am so confused, David. I don't know what that means, my friend. Justice, battery. Seeing Metallica in May. Nice. Are they doing a big tour? I didn't know that. Oh, wow. They sell the whole field as like general admission. It's interesting. Ritter Engine, back-to-back losses. What is going on? Oh, it's not. You wish it was back-to-back losses, my man. That's a three-game. That's a three-game. That is a three-game. A three-game losing streak. Favorite band. But you mean like an actual band or like musician? I like all kinds of music, so my favorite band pick is not going to be like some Metallica-ish pick. Tool is an amazing band. Pat, the Islanders fan's a huge Tool guy. Ritter Engine, do we think giving up games right before playoffs is a good thing? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. It's not a good thing. I'm deeply concerned. Chico, Frank Saravalli reporting the Devils signed LeChance after the game. 30 points in 40 NCAA games this year, 27 and 40 last year. Let's see what the kid's got. Oh, boy, I got to look this up right now. It's interesting. I'm reading the tweet as well. Saravelli did point it out. Hearing New Jersey Devils have signed Shane LeChance to his entry-level contract, his arrival in New Jersey after trade deadline deal from Oilers. But is he going to play? Is he going to play this year? That's the question. And I'd love to see it. Chico, 6'5", 218 pounds, left-handed, left wing. Maybe he can be a middle six or bottom six guy. Who knows? I just hope he brings some fire and pushes these bums to play a little harder to keep their spot. I think he's going to be a bottom six guy, but I'd love to see it. Would love to see the size. Throw that weight around. Can't sleep mini pizza. This is honestly PMO, though. My hope has settled on Dougie's return. He's definitely coming back. He said he's hearing they signed him to an entry level. I'd have to believe if he heard that. I have to believe if he heard that it's from a good source and that it will be made official or announced soon. Devil Heaven 77 Ace, got to see and DRVS fans the Tri-Siberian Orchestra. John Lopez, really enjoy your special guest shows. Any chance you could try for Zach, Claude, Riche, Odeline, etc. for your summer shows? Oh, for the summer, I'm trying to get millions of people. We're going to see how. We're going to see, but I got a lot of things in store and in the works. There's always things in the works. But obviously, those guys are all on my list for sure. LaChance is a horse. He seems like one in the good way. He seems like a horse in a great way. Would love to have him smashing people on this Devils roster. We don't have many guys that are throwing the weight around. I don't know. I'd have to believe we don't see him till next season. I hope I'm wrong. I'm hoping we do see him this season, but if they're not going to do that with Gritsuk, I'm just, why would they do it with him? Although I guess because of his age, there might be a difference. All these the entry-level contract rules are ridiculous. Let me see. How old is he? He's 21. Let me see. So so you can't save a year. It's not slide eligible. So I think they would use the first year off of it regardless. John, in Big Dougie, we trust. Maybe not, but what the hell do we have to lose at this point? Dougie's going to be a spark, or he should at least be a spark. Hopefully it translates to something. Pro Bolt says Dougie's too inconsistent, though. Yeah, but he's a massive upgrade over Casey or Nemitz. I mean, both offensively and defensively. Just experience and size, even though he doesn't use it in a manner which I would prefer him to. He's definitely a big improvement. John, even if he is inconsistent, hopefully he could be somewhat of a spark in this team a bit. Definitely. He took warm-ups today. I'm going to put out a vlog from this game. I am going to put out a vlog, which will have some interesting stuff in it. But, yeah, he took warm-ups. You'll see video of that. But he should definitely be a spark. Traveling Devil says, Devil Heaven, how do you feel about remastering Led Zeppelin albums and quantizing the drum parts on Pro Tools? All right, so Steve the Maniac, when I said, what's your favorite Metallica song? He wrote back, like asking my favorite child. And he sent a whole list here. He has Until It Sleeps, Bleeding Me, Master of Puppets, Creeping Death, Wherever I May Roam, Sandman, Fuel, Nothing Else Matters, Memory Remains, Unforgiven. Ooh, I like Unforgiven as well. But I don't really have a favorite, just songs I like better than others, but I basically love them all. That was Steve the Maniac's Metallica list. Chico, at 21, I think he gets a 2-year deal, but I can't remember now. Yeah, they keep changing the shit, but it's not slide. I don't think it's slide eligible regardless. So 18 to 21 is 3 years, but it's actually. Ooh, wait a minute. Yeah, see, I have to constantly refer to. So the way it goes is it's the signing age is the age on September 15th of the calendar year. And because we're in the calendar year 2015, his age on September 15th of 2025, his birthday's in August. So he would be 22. So his shit will count as a 22-year-old, which is 2 years. So he could get a 2-year deal. A 2-year deal, and I believe if he plays at all this year, we're burning 1 year. Did I say 2015? I meant 2025. But on the date September 15th, he would be 22. So in terms of his entry level, he's going to be a 22-year-old, which means he gets a 2-year deal. Wow. Yeah, Grits is 23, 1 year. Pro Bowl, I just don't see NJ getting past Carolina. Carolina's a tough core of players, not to mention Nicohischier and Morrow have arrived. Yeah, hopefully we have some reinforcements, but I don't think so. Devil Dog, hopefully it's not another Hugh Jessamine. College is always a crapshoot. For sure it is, but I do feel more comfortable with more of the kind of depth players that use their size and smarts to contribute versus like maybe some of the more flashy, skilled offensive guys, because I do think, that, some of that bottom six grinder kind of role is easier to make the transition from college to the pros, or, from juniors to the pros, whatever it may be, versus maybe a more of a skilled top six guy. Yeah, he can't slide at all. If he signed, he's going to play either here or in Utica. Devils fans' favorite drummers in history. Brandon, Carolina will be a team that wants to win, while on the other hand, the Devils are there just for the paycheck. John, they mentioned LeChance signing with the Devils during last night's NCAA championship game. No, I know. Just wasn't sure of how soon it was going to be. Chico, because we're in the calendar year. Yeah, don't do that to us. Chico, as rough as things are now, I don't think any of us want to go back to that. Although I would prefer to be 10 years younger, so I would go back, as painful as Devils hockey was. Ritter Engine, our depth has been dog shit, so my question for the Mac haters is why not play him? You're going to get killed for that. I love Mac, and even I don't know that I would play him in the playoffs. But I don't know. Maybe it's not the craziest thing. It does give the opportunity. It's never going to happen, but just thinking out loud, it does give the opportunity to some of the big guns to pick up an extra shift for sure here and there. Rich, as the Russian kid, can only sign a 1-year entry-level deal. Yeah, because he's older. We were talking about Shane LeChance. His entry-level deal will be 2 years. Gritzuk's will only be 1. Cape Dweller, if I had a favorite band, they'd be called Haitian Blood Transfusion. Is that a real thing? Devil Dog, yeah, but Hugh Jessamine was huge specimen. I mean, thank God he busted for our sake. Devil Heaven says roster in a year, Devils fans. It should have a lot of differences, a lot of overturn, if you will. John Fay, didn't Mac raise the cup in Colorado before coming to the Devils, or am I crazy? He did, but he did not play in the playoffs, to my knowledge. Let me just double check that. I'm pretty sure he didn't play any playoff games, but he was a cup champion there. He did play in the regular season. I don't think he's played a playoff game in his career. I guess that's possible. Yeah, damn, he was with the Avs for 3 seasons. With the Kings for 3 seasons. Then the Avs for 3 seasons. Yeah, no playoff games. Chico, to be fair, the Rangers have never been good at developing prospects. Traveling Devil Mac is going to be watching his weight while eating arena food in the player's box. Devil Heaven, Ace, what are you seeing top 4 lines? What do you mean? What do I think the 4 lines are going to be? Jay Snow, at a minimum, they need a center and a top 6 winger besides filling in the bottom 6. I don't know how they're going to afford it. They're not. We're going to have to get lucky. Top 3 Great White tunes. I don't know Great White. Devil Dog, conversely, to be fair, we're not that much better at developing many of our non-number 1 overall prospects either. If you look at the Devils draft history, it's actually way sadder than I ever would have thought. I mean, I knew, obviously, when you think about it, I joke about a lot of the busts we've had over the years. But then when you really look at it, even going back like 30 years, if you take out those number 1 overalls, when you really look at it, it has been a pretty abysmal draft history that spans multiple administrations in terms of, GMs and whatever else. Obviously, Lou was there for the bulk of it. But even post Lou, you see just subpar picks. Jason says, if Dougie doesn't get moved, do you think Nemitz gets traded? Maybe yes, maybe no. I don't think Fitz would want to trade him for below what he thinks he's worth. And unfortunately, I do think the way everything played out this season, specifically, that his value, while he still has a value for sure, I think it's much less than what it would have been at pretty much any point last season and maybe even points of earlier this year. And so I don't think Fitz will trade him for the sake of trading him if he doesn't think he's going to get fair value. And I think right now it might be hard to get fair value. Nemitz might be, kind of stuck here, which, in time, I think he's going to be a great defenseman. Maybe he does become part of the long-term blue line. I wouldn't be mad at that at all. Chico, Curtis McDermott played 58 games the year. The Avs won the cup, but 0 playoff games, still automatically qualified to get his name on the cup. Yeah, and he was out there on the ice and skated it as well. Chico said, hell, I'd take a cup even watching the press box. I'd wear the ring everywhere. Oleg, it'd be cool to have a 1 versus 8 playoff seeding format again. Yeah, we talked about that a little while ago. The whole hockey world agrees that it's a better format. Jason, no, Ray Shero drafted all the core players. Indeed. Fitzgerald was gifted the big 3 before they became the big 4 with the addition of Timomeier, but Nico, Bratter, and Jack were all here when Fitz got here. Is it 40 regular season games to qualify? Let's see. I thought it was less than that. So it's 41 regular season games with the team or 1 cup final game. It's so interesting, right? It's like you could play half of the regular season games or a single cup final game. Yeah, that's crazy. So technically, in the hypothetical world, if the Devils won the cup this season, if McDermott did not play in a finals game, he would not be eligible to have his name on the cup. That's crazy. Mary, Ace, you seem a bit under the weather. How have the allergies been? Pretty bad. The weather in New Jersey this time of year is kind of crazy. There's a lot of pollen, a lot of bullshit from the trees and the grass and everything blowing around. And so I always get this every year. Sometimes my eyes get puffy. It's happened a couple times in the past couple weeks. The temperatures fluctuate greatly within a day. Like it feels like you could experience 3 or maybe even in some cases all 4 seasons in one day. It's like, it's kind of like springtime in the morning. And then midday, you might feel like a little bit of summer heat, and then it starts to cool off. You're like, oh, this is like spring. And then eventually later it feels like winter. That's kind of how it is lately. Like it goes from the 30s to like 70 in the same day. I hate this time of year, but looking forward to the summer for sure. And hopefully less rain and more good weather. LJ Ace, I played this game recently looking back at our drafting history, and I cried. Yeah, it's bad. It's really bad. Sad Jets fan, playing our worst hockey of the year, arguably heading into the playoffs. Not ideal. It's certainly less. It's far less than just not ideal. I would say that it's borderline tragic. Again, I hope I am proved wrong and they somehow flip that magical switch, but it's not something that's going to excite the fan base just limping into the playoffs completely on a losing streak. I don't know any Cinderella songs. Chico, to be fair, even bench warmers and scratches on championship teams are still doing things. Advice and practice and probably taking notes and stuff for the coach. They're just not paid spectators. Oh, for sure. I mean, he's going to practice. He takes warm-ups in a lot of games, but in the end, it must suck not to play. I feel bad. He should have got some more games this year for sure. Traveling, I'm so hoping the Devils meet the Panthers in this playoffs and V-Tank is forced to play. Yeah, and then he would have the series of his life. That's what would happen. And then SST would come out of the woodwork and just be nonstop trolling. Brandon, what has Tom Fitz accomplished since he's got here? Is Timo his best pickup? In trade? Yeah. Yeah, Timo is definitely his best trade. I would say his best move overall was probably the Jack contract. I mean, yeah, I would say overall it's been somewhat underwhelming, if I'm being honest, given that he started off with the building blocks of nicohischier, jesperbratt, and Jack Hughes, and then was fortunate enough to end up with a number 2 overall, which saw us pick Nemitz, which in the end was not the best pick. I think he's going to be a good defenseman, but in the end, a center or trading that for immediate help would be better. But it is what it is. And then the number 4 pick, there wasn't much of a decision. When Luke was still on the board, it seemed pretty obvious to the whole world that he was going to be the pick. Devil Dog, the luck of the lottery draft ball is the reason we aren't Columbus or Coyotes/Utah picking 4 or 5 every year. Good, but not Jack or Nico quality. Sad work from Fitzy. Yes, I am. Why? Why do you ask? Yes, I am. LJ, another OV goal. Oh, baby. 896. Danny Iglesias, Devils were a garbage team. Last time they won the cup, Luke wasn't even born. Isn't that sad? It is so sad. Luke wasn't even born. Chico, it all just goes back to asset management. Fitz doesn't even have a long-term plan. He goes day by day as if tomorrow and yesterday don't exist. I agree. Brandon, yeah, if you really think about it in the grand total of things, Tom Fitz is a really bad GM. I can't say that I disagree. I think that this year alone, there's been so many things you look at and you're like, what the hell's going on here? It is what it is. Devil Heaven 77, Nemo in time, thinking Seamus, my boy. What do you mean by that? I think they're both going to be good defensemen. The question is, does it end up being here or not? Chico, I said it before, but that second overall pick probably is 90% of what gets Timomeier at the draft instead of at the deadline. And then this team still has Zetterlund and co to either keep or trade for. Probably. But, like, you can make the argument for that scenario, but there's tons of others, right? Like, okay, again, back to what if he used the pick and drafted Wright or Cooley? I mean, any of the scenarios you want to play out all end up way better than what we're looking at right now. A defenseman who's not NHL ready yet every day and is not helping us right now. Either one of those centers would, or any other forward help that it could have been traded for is helping us now too. And so, again, while I'm not calling Nemitz a bust or anything like that, I think he's going to be a good defenseman. The reality is there was tons of other options with the pick that would be helping us like today. To be fair, the Caps have been getting pummeled lately too. Well, listen, if you're in the President's Trophy conversation, then I think it's a little different. Like, you've shown who you are all season long versus a team with 89 points that clinched on a loss by the Rangers against another division rival, the Flyers, and haven't won a damn game since. Very different. Yeah, exactly. The Caps have been a wagon all year. They could take games off. They deserved it. Completely agree. We can't even compare ourselves to the Caps. We could have Zets back right now. I agree with that. Also, a second-round pick, essentially. No reason not to do it, but, you know, asset management, I don't know. I don't have the answers anymore. It's just hoping for the best. Traveling Devil Caps definitely took the night off last night. Devil Heaven, Nemo and Seamus not going nowhere. Good prob to have. I'm not sold that neither one of them gets traded. I'd like to see them here both long-term. I just don't know if it makes the most sense given the other defensemen we have and the other needs that we have. Jason, no, I'm sold on Casey. Nemitz just looks like he plays with no effort. They're both very young. You guys got to remember, very, very young. So it's hard to, I'm not going to bash the kid. He was yo-yoed up and down. He got a tough hand this year. Chico, reportedly the logic against drafting centers was he already had Nico and Jack, but they have one 82-game season between the two of them. You need center insurance on this team, good center insurance. Yeah, it never makes sense, right? It's like you need 4 centers, so what, too many good centers is a bad problem? I'll never understand it either. Brandon Ace, what's your biggest worry for the playoffs? For me, the games are going to be so tight there will be zero room out there. I think the Devils are going to have a hell of a time scoring goals. Yeah, that's the obvious worry, Brandon. We can't score goals, period. So then when you start playing against, again, a very crafty, playoff war-tested team like the Canes that are going to come flying with the forecheck, take away the middle of the ice, it's obviously goal scoring is the number one issue. That it is going to be hard for the Devils to score. And again, they have issues scoring against, some teams that aren't as stifling as the Canes can be. So that obviously is the biggest worry. And it's like, are we equipped to come out on the right side of games like we saw today? Can we win a 1-0, 2-1 game? I used to say 3-2. I'm not even going to say 3-2 anymore. To me, thinking this team's going to score 3 goals in a game is like borderline lunacy. We've scored 4 goals total in the past 3 games at home against teams not in the playoffs. Whew. That's 1.33 repeating goals per game over a 3-game stretch against non-playoff teams on home ice. It's psychotic. So now I'm hoping for 2. I'm just keeping it to 1-0, 2-1 games. I'm not even going to say 3-2 anymore, even though we obviously hopefully score at least 3 goals or more in one of the games of the series. But the name of the game is old school New Jersey Devils hockey, my friends. Defensively sound, good goaltending, and win 1-0, 2-1. Devil heaven, regardless, we have to let this orchestra play out, Devils fans. We have no choice. James Valenti, do you think Fitz gets canned this season? Absolutely not. His job is so secure. Ted, Ace, were you at the game? Yes, I was. How lackluster today. When we lose, we lose, we booze. Win or lose, we booze. I think, this is done. A little drop left. 2 Utes. Classic Pesci. 2 Utes. Jason, no, losing McLeod was a huge loss, but Fitz had to know. Maybe, but I don't even care about that at this point. What does that even matter? Who cares? In the end, he's gone. Devil Heaven, Seamus and Nemitz, Nemo, 2 Utes. Yeah, 2 Utes on the blue line. Dougie's coming to put them both in the players' suite. Chico could have done the same thing with Ryder Cooley that they've done with Mercer. Move him to wing, then back to center in case of emergency. I'd say Mercer's been admirable in his fill-in role. Yeah, I don't hate on Mercer like a lot of these people here do, but, the pitchfork crowd, especially when we're losing, they come out full force. Jay Snow, we used to be able to use our speed to hurt other teams, but that part of our game has seemed to disappear. Well, teams wisened up. They're like, don't play pond hockey with the Devils. They have better players suited for that game. And so good teams will cut down that wide open kind of play, clog the middle, force us to the outside, and make us work for goals. And we obviously don't do as well when faced with that roadblock because their primary preferred way of playing is the run and gun. It has decreased a bit, I would say, since Jack went down. It's not as, that's not as much of a reliance or crutch, if you will. But, we still have a lot of guys that like to play like that. And if you could cut that down and force us to really work for the goals, they struggle. Where's James C? Let's go Devils. Thanks for always being here for us, Ace. Yeah, no problem. Thanks for stopping by. John, we're going to be slaughtered by the Canes if we can't score. Play consistent hockey and show motivation and show teamwork. It's true. Devil Heaven 77. We have to take playoffs one shift at a time. They need to score some friggin' goals. Ted says, what is a Ute? Oh, Ted. You've never seen the classic. Mark's only place we're better than the Canes is goaltending. Yeah, but that's a big one. Goaltending is the X factor, and this is why I was so excited about Markey when the rumors first came up last season. And that's why I said, guys, listen, Markey, it could be an elite guy on some nights. steal games, potentially steal series, and I will take my chance with a guy like Jacob Markstrom any day, and that's why I was jacked when we got him. Sorry, Your Honor. I meant define mute. Oh, I'm dying. Oh, I thought Ted was serious. All right, I'm skimming around over here. Chico, not so much. Teams wised up, and the Devils got slower. Everyone makes a big emphasis on the Devils getting slower. I don't think they got that much slower. I think it's more so of teams being like, okay, this is how you stop them now. We have overwhelming tape and evidence of how you shut them down. I think that's more along the lines of what it was. It's like, all right, now it's clear. Samuel says, not enough smoke in Jamaica to make me believe a cup is in this year. I mean, it's obviously far-fetched, but I'll still hold out hope. We have 3 fast forwards and Luke. Keith's system is the opposite of run and gun. He basically plays the opposite of that. Yeah, but let Jack and the Instagrammers out there pre-injury. There was a lot of it. You saw a lot of it, and especially when other teams like willingly engaged. I forget the one game. I forget what game it was. I'm trying to think. Where a team came out and it was like it seemed like they thought they were like the pond hockey team, and I'm like, this is going to end poorly for you. I think we scored like 3 goals in the first period. I forget what team it was. This is some months ago. Brandon, when is the last time the Devils scored a goal that was tipped on purpose in front of their net? Like that we tipped in a goal against another goalie, you mean? Devil Heaven 77. Everyone stand up and appreciate Ace for what he does. I appreciate that, Devil Heaven. Thank you very much for the kind words. Appreciate everyone coming out, especially after tough losses like this. LJ, we can't compare ourselves to the Caps, but we can the Canes. Losers of 5 out of the last 6 if they lose today. That's pretty bad. And I agree with that, Oleg. Canes are good, but not elite. But we've just been putrid in a lot of games. Pretty sure everyone in this chat has seen My Cousin Vinny. If not, go watch it. There's a lot of young bucks in here that movie came out before they were born, probably. Last year, we had no problem scoring. What happened? What happened is people figured out how to shut us down. And the well went dry. Pro Bolt forever. The only teams I see making it out of the East are either Tampa or Florida. I can totally see the Senators, too. My dad used to have 2 youths as his license plate. That's pretty cool. Chico, it was really only the Canes that were good at consistently shutting down the rough rush Devils. Like you can know Shaq is going to dunk on you, but stopping it consistently is a different thing. I think it's easier to stop the Devils rush than Shaq dunking on you. I think it's very different because Shaq is just so physically imposing, man. Watching him dunk all over Jason Collins for the Nets that year they played in the finals, I think it was 02. Yeah, it was 02. I went to some of those finals games. I was not a huge Nets fan, but I was a pretty active Nets fan, I would say. New Jersey Nets, played in the same building as my Devils. Tickets were very affordable back then. And Jason Collins just got dominated. Shaq was just abusing him. Southern Devils fan, the smoke in Jamaica is the worst I've ever seen. So disappointed. Oh, yeah, man. It's like they just ripped it off of a bushel. It's just terrible. It's just complete dirt. Travel and Devil, hope for the cup ends when the Devils officially get eliminated for me anyways. Of course. I will hold out the hope until the very end as well. Mark, if Canes are Shaq, then we got to be Hakeem Olajuwon. Where's James C? The Nets aren't interested in the game of basketball anymore. Such a shame they moved to Brooklyn to be a little brother team in New York. Wish we had another NJ-based team again other than the Devils. Yeah, me too. I would if we had a team either at, I guess it's now still Izod Center. I don't even know if it's actually, I don't even think it's open. But hypothetically, if a basketball team played there or at Prue, I would be way more into basketball. Like, I don't watch NBA really at all anymore. I might watch like a couple minutes here and there of the playoffs or finals, but I don't think I've watched a minute of NBA basketball this season, and I'm fine with that. But if New Jersey still had a team, I mean, listen, I was a pretty big Nets fan. I mean, again, compared to my Devil fandom, nothing. But I would go to a handful of Nets games and some playoff games every year they were in. Shit, that same year, my senior year, I probably went to a bunch of Nets games. I was at the arena like all the time that year during 2003. It was crazy. All right, I'll be right back. It's the bathroom time. Throw out comments, questions, suggestions. I like the suggestions. Haven't seen many of those. And then I'll wrap this up. I'll be back in 2 minutes. Throw it all out there. We'll start winding down this depressing eve after another New Jersey Devils loss on home ice. Back in 2 minutes. All right, winding down here. Chico says, Mark, that was true against the Rough Devils, but Keefe's system has them matching up pretty well against Rod so far this year. Don't forget that Jack was in all those games. Yeah, the last one was what, December 28th, I think, right? That was the last one. The Natchez roll around the ice like you got shot by a shotgun. Pro Bowl, Chico, I'll believe it when I see it. I don't think Berube is going to make a difference in Toronto. They had a tough coach in Babcock. They didn't go anywhere with him. I do think the Toronto core four is cursed. We're going to find out. I would love to see them out in the first round again. And I think against Brady and the Senators, we're going to see that. Imagine if they got swept. That'd be crazy. Chico says, believe what? You've seen them lose in the first round 8 of 9 years. Is that the Nets or the Leafs? How much do you need to see the Leafs choke and it's on the players? That core four is never going to win. I'm curious to see what Tavares does after this year. James, the only thing they use Izod now is rehearsals for big stage shows. And me too, Ace. The NJ Nets was a low-key fun time. Yeah, the Jason Kidd years were great. Jason Kidd, Richard Jefferson, Kenyon Martin, Kerry Kittles. They had some good teams. They just could never. They got to the finals back-to-back years, and they ran into juggernauts. The Shaq and Kobe Lakers, I saw them three-peat on the Nets court at Continental. And then the next year, they ran up into another low-key dynasty that I feel like doesn't get respect they deserve. The Tim Duncan, Tony Parker Spurs. What a squad they had for a while as well. Brandon, our roster is just flawed. We can't tip pucks to score. We don't screen the goaltenders. We block a shot. The guy's probably injured. We can't finish goals. Can't score on breakaways. Too much problems. You're not wrong. You are not wrong. Chico. Keefe System has had the Devils playing well versus the Canes all year. Mark, NBA is horrible now. Just a bunch of guys hucking threes, and all the players look like stick bugs. Miss the days of Larry Johnson. Chico's going to go off about it. We're not having this NBA argument again. Where's James C? Suggestion? Have you ever thought of somehow, I understand the YouTube copyrights and such, watching a game live with the chat? I think we'd all be down for an Ace Called Devils game at some point. The biggest issue with this is so I have all the online streaming shit, and the feeds seem to be like, it seems like it's gotten worse actually in the past couple months. I feel like on some nights it's like a full minute behind. So it's hard because of the timing of it. Everyone's at a different point in time. And a couple times this year, I tried not to look at the chat too much during the game. And a couple times I was alerted either of a goal for the Devils or against because someone in the chat would write it. And I'm like behind on my feed. And then I'd be like, damn it. And it kind of ruins it. So there's that element. There's obviously the copyright as well. Which, wouldn't be an issue if I didn't show the game and I was just sitting here watching the game, but it's a lot. I don't know. People have talked about it, but like, do people really care that much? I mean, I'm even shocked that there's this many people that come onto the shows afterwards, if I'm being honest. Traveling Devil suggestion, put together a video of your Devils fan timeline using stuff you collected over the years. Start till this year. Oh man, that would be interesting. That'd be a freaking long ass video. That's an interesting one, Traveling. I'm not mad at that idea. Yeah, it would start in 94. So I guess I would just show, maybe not necessarily the order in which I got the items, but I could go year by year and like show an item from that year. That'd be interesting. That would take me forever to film. That might be one I might put that on the summer list, Traveling. I'm going to snap a photo of that. That's definitely an interesting one. I'm not mad at that idea. That's a big time video. Devil Ace, what are you cooking tonight, Fokker? Oh, Devil Heaven, I wish I had calories to spare to eat dinner. I will not be eating until sometime. What's today? Sunday? Tomorrow's a definite fast. Yeah, I'm not scheduled to eat food again until sometime Tuesday mid-afternoon. I was in one of the clubs today, and in true fashion, just completely feasted and probably, ate thousands of calories. And it's terrible, but here we are. So I will not be eating again today or tomorrow. Tomorrow will be a fast. He could actually, as long as he doesn't show the game or let any audio on the stream. Yeah. But again, the timing for the offseason. Yeah, I got you, Traveling. Mark, don't forget Vince Carter. Vince Carter came after those deep runs, but yeah, the Vince Carter era was fun too. That's a VC3 when he would chuck up some big threes. And he still had some hops. He had some real nice dunks when he was still a member of the Nets. Devil Dog says, James Nichols saying Gritsuk probably signed around June for the entry level for next year. Future is so bright. The future is so bright, guys, that you know what? The future is so bright, I got to put on my shades right now. I don't want to hurt my retinas. The future is so bright that I need protection for these eyeballs. Mark, oh man, don't forget that 04 Pistons team that swept the Lakers. They were such a defensively dominant team. Dude, that was in the heyday. I was in college then. That was in the heyday of my sports gambling. And I won a shitload of money on that Pistons team with Ben Wallace, Rasheed Wallace, Rip Hamilton, Chauncey Billups, and Tayshaun Prince. I probably couldn't name any other five guys from like any NBA team ever. That Pistons team, I'll never forget. I won so much money betting on them in games, series. I would bet player props. It'd be like, Ben Wallace points plus rebounds over 20, whatever. I was winning money all kinds of ways on that Pistons team. Detroit basketball. Yeah, I liked the NBA back then, and I won a lot of money. Future's always bright, Chico. Don't worry, guys, in the future, the Devils have a cup dynasty. It's nuts. Oh, yeah. In 2029-30, we're going to be so nasty. Yegorov's going to win the Vezina. Salayev's going to be amazing. 29-30. Samuel, NHL is having a contest to see what team can appear on my... Wait, what? NHL is having a contest to see what team can appear on my streaming platforms and stations in a season. On more? Is having a contest to see what team can appear on more streaming. What do you mean by that, Samuel? I read the clarification, but I don't understand. Explain to me what that means. Chico, Devils have 4 future cups in a row. Don't ask what years. It's just in the future because that future is so damn bright. Where's James C? All my friends and I get our Devils info from you, man. Trust us. People care. I appreciate that, James. Thank you very much. It's an honor. And I've had a lot of fun with this channel, since its inception and talking to a lot of Devils fans through the good times and the bad. This season's been a friggin' roller coaster of emotions, the highest highs and the lowest of lows, the 24-25 New Jersey Devils. Chico, we've paid our dues. 10 years, 10 effing years of rebuilding and suffering. Where's the effing future? I like the fire, Chico. I'm right there with you. I'm just kind of numb to it now. But we have been told the future was going to be here already. I completely agree. Ted said, same. I always feast while in the Pure Club. If I go into any of those clubs, it is a nonstop feeding frenzy. And today I did one of my fattest feats in a career of fat guy stuff and antics. Today I actually, instead of eating, so I always eat the ice creams, the little ice creams after the second period. That's when I usually pig out before the game. Maybe eat a little more food after the first, but a lot of times I just go so hard before the game that I don't even buy. I'm just done with food. And today, after the second period, in a new low of fatness, and the little ice creams, for all of you to know, the little ice creams are like super small cups. I went and got one of the cups for the fountain drinks, and I emptied 3 separate sundaes into one of the soda cups, and I was sure to layer both the crushed up Oreos and chocolate sprinkles. I layered it after each cup. So I actually had a base. I took the empty cup of the empty soda cup, and I started it off with a base layer of crushed Oreos and chocolate sprinkles. So that was the bottom of the cup. Then I took I do the swirl, vanilla and chocolate swirl. So then I emptied the first chocolate and vanilla swirl into the soda cup. So now I have base layer, ice cream. Then I sprinkled another layer of crushed Oreos and sprinkles, second ice cream, then the next layer of sprinkles, crushed Oreos, third ice cream, and then the final layer. And then I kind of smashed it up, and it was delicious. But, I mean, what a slob. What an absolute slob. John faces Chico's having a miniature crash out. I don't think it's a miniature crash out. I'm right with him. I'm just kind of, I just can't keep yelling about the same stuff. It's just not going to it doesn't make a difference, but I'm just as furious. The future has been bright forever. Like he said, we're, again, for the 9 millionth time, this is the 8th season for nicohischier and jesperbratt. They've won a single playoff round and 6 total playoff games. If you guys believe that's any sort of real progress, then I have a bridge to sell you. Devil Dog says, Chico, somebody replied to that tweet about not caring about Gritsu because he's watching Rory at the Masters. I could care less about golf. Where is James? Future so bright, gotta wear shades. Ace, these young mofos don't get that song reference. Man. Wait, what is this about? B17 apricot seeds. Start with a few daily and work up to 2025 once your body gets used to it. Don't listen to Big Pharma. Arsenic poisoning will happen? Wait, what the hell is that? Why isn't the NHL the number one in top four? Are you talking about the major four sports leagues? Is that a question? Games have been on about 22 different platforms: TNT, Hulu, Apple, etc., etc. Oh boy. Today is Sunday, Ted. He says fasting until Sunday sounds like a great idea for me also. No, today is Sunday. I'm fasting until Tuesday. Chico, that 0304 Pistons team highest score averaged 17 a game too, if I recall correctly. They won a championship off that. Talk about next level defense. That was a squad. Cancer cannot survive B17 vitamins that are in apricot seeds. I'm so confused. That Pistons team was very tough. Traveling Ace has been to so many games he now has arena food hacks. I have a lot. I do have a lot of arena food hacks now. It's kind of disgusting, but the ice creams, either in the soda cup or in some of the lounges, they have soup, and there's a nice, much bigger cup for soup that I've done the same Sunday trick in that I did with the soda cup. I do prefer the soda cup's kind of deep. It's like tall and narrow and deep. I do prefer the lounge that has the soup because then it's more of the same shape as the ice cream cups. They're just much bigger, and you can put multiple in there and layer your toppings like so. Every friend he knows has tickets. I have a lot of friends with tickets. I do. Traveling Devil Ace needs to put out an arena food recipe book. Wouldn't be a recipe. It's more of just like fat guy hacks and creations with the items they have there. It's a good way to get over the loss. Chico, I understand a rebuild. I could wait it out while they draft and develop the next generation, but I don't want to wait a full actual generation for it. My biggest fear is we wake up one day as the Sabres. I think we're kind of there, my guy. I mean, where are we? We're in the playoffs, but if I'm being honest, if I'm being super honest right now, it's hard to recall exactly, but I do think because of the way this is all going down right now, hold on, let me just check something. But I will say for sure, as crazy as this may sound, and I do think this is a much better team, at least on paper, this might be the least, yeah, that's what I thought. I'm just double checking something here. This is the least excited I've been for a playoff appearance in my entire fandom, which says a lot. This is the least excited I've been about a playoff appearance in my entire fandom, just because of the way that it's all transpired. That, we clinched off someone else losing, and now we're on a 3-game losing streak against non-playoff teams at home. All the uncertainty and turmoil throughout the season. I was going to say, up until now, the least excited I probably was for a playoff berth before this year was probably that 2017-18 team, just because I had very low expectations because Taylor Hall dragged us there and we didn't belong. But the reality is, and I kind of remember this in my head, we had to win down the stretch to get in. We won 4 of our last 5 games. We won 4 of our last 5 to get in. So we kind of had to play our way in. This is like just very like, oh, we clinched, and now everyone's not only dogging it and not caring about these games, they're openly talking about the games not mattering and not caring. So it's just, and even with that being said, I still do think this team, mainly because of Markey, more so than anything, this team does have more talent than that 17-18 team had. But because we're just limping in so badly, I guess looking at it, I still think this team has more potential than that team did. But at the time, winning those 4 games in a row to get into the playoffs, I remember thinking like, oh, we're getting hot at the right time. Like Taylor Hall's having this amazing year. Like, can he kind of single-handedly win us around? But it, now as I'm now 8 years older or 7 years older than I was then. It's tough to call. I'm going to say they're close because this team is better on paper, but that team did have to go on a little heater down the stretch to get in, which I always think is a much better scenario than the opposite, which we're seeing here, which is just completely backing in, limping in. But, I'm thrilled. I'm happy we're in the playoffs, but it does have like a dark cloud kind of lingering over it, in my opinion. Are you going to I'll get the Markstrom bobblehead one way or another. I don't think I'm going to go to the game. That always could change, but I will obtain one way or another. That's for sure. Chase, no, I do think Nico is a stud 1C who deserves to win a cup somewhere. I hope it's here, but we're going to find out. He's eligible to be an unrestricted free agent in 2 more seasons, and I've already let my concerns be known about that. And so a lot of people disagreed with me and thought I was crazy. I will stand by that sentiment until the end of time. I don't think it's a foregone conclusion whatsoever that he's just going to resign here. Like many people just assume that it's a done deal. I don't believe so at all. Again, I would love to be wrong, but the reality is I think he's going to need to see some progress and have some sort of reassurances before committing here long-term, because he is a winner and wants to win. But again, 8th season, he's won a single playoff round in 6 games and has watched our franchise sit on last year $9 million of LTIR money. And then this year it was 12 or 13 million in back-to-back years. And so I don't know how you sell a kid like Nico and his agent that this is the place to win when you have chances to, for lack of a better term, exploit loopholes in the cap and go over the cap by obtaining guys, and then you activate everyone for the playoffs like Vegas and Tampa has done. When you don't do those things, I can't believe in my heart of hearts that you are truly trying everything you can to win, because you see the teams that are truly trying to win, what they do. And they spend that LTIR money, all of it. They bring all their guys back for the playoffs, and they're like, oh, yeah, we're 15 million over the cap chilling with this juggernaut team. We did not do that either year. One year you could say maybe, there's extenuating circumstances. After 2 years in a row of the same thing, I'm not going to be fooled anymore. John Fay, just make a book about these hacks at this point. Some of them are so shameful. Some of them are just so fat and disgusting. I'd be ashamed to put it in writing. Devil Dog 7, I hate golf as well, but everyone is pissed after this loss, and they're piling on James Nichols with those comments about potentially signing Gritsuk. What are they piling on James Nichols for? Devil Heaven, the food at the Prue on the concourse, like the regular food, I've heard bad stories. I will be honest. I've purchased one item on the concourse this entire season. It was the Taylor ham, egg, and cheese much earlier in the season. I think it may have even been October. If not October, maybe November at the latest. But every game I've been to this season, I've been in one of the clubs. And I will say, typically, the food in the clubs is much better than what you would get if you were out on the concourse purchasing it on your own. In the clubs, it's constantly replenished and refreshed. So as people take all the stuff, they're constantly bringing out new stuff. Whereas if you go to one of the stands, you could end up buying a burger that's been sitting there for like 2 years and as hard as a hockey puck. I mean, that shit still happens in the clubs too. But then you could just be like, this one sucks, throw it in the trash, and then go get a new one. One of the beauties of the clubs. Maria G says anticlimactic. I agree there. Where's James C? For real, spot on about the least excited playoff berth. Yeah, it's, winning one of those games in Raleigh will definitely change that dramatically and in a hurry. But it's discouraging just limping in, though, this way. Chico, at least that 17-18 team had Nico, Bratt, Butcher, and Taylor Hall, one of the best seasons ever by Devils forward. Kincaid was a great story, too. No, for sure. But I would, my rebuttal to that with this team would be that, we still have Nico and Bratt, who are now older and better. Plus timomeier, plus Luke Hughes, plus Dougie Hamilton. But yeah, I guess overall, if you're looking at how good Taylor Hall was, I guess you could say, but Nico and Brad are so much better now. Yeah, I do think the team now is better. But the excitement of winning that little run to get in versus what we're seeing now changes the optics and the feelings of it for me, and I'm sure many others as well. Nicole, you still going to drop that playoff merch, though? Oh, I thought about that earlier today. I'm almost like, do I even care to do that? Maybe I will. I don't know. Everything just takes time and effort. And, I don't know that. Or do people even, it just seems like everyone's so down. Maybe I will do it. I don't know. I'll think about it. I guess I have to figure it out soon, though. Jason says they could run this team back. We'll probably miss the playoffs. I've said before, the bottom 6 needs a gut renovation, and I think to some extent it will get close to that. There's really no choice. You can't come back with the same roster and expect different results. It was ugly at points this year. LJ, the season is basically how last season would have ended if we had figured out the goalie situation. I remember all the wild card teams stopped winning. Don't get me started. I was furious I was ranting last year. That's probably when I either pissed off a lot of people or made a lot of people happy that were feeling the same way. But I was just furious that we didn't get a goalie for that whole time while we clearly were just probably a goalie away from at least getting into the playoffs. The whole league, and, you would hear it on other broadcasts, on the national broadcasts, they'd constantly show our goalie numbers and be like, yeah, this team would, and we were scoring goals regularly. That would have been the difference between making the playoffs or not. It is what it is. They decided to punt on the season. We got the 10th overall pick, and now they could tell us, how bright the future is when Salayev is this monster defenseman who's going to be a part of it. Jay Snow has in quotes, or Devil Dog to Jay Snow, I'm told there's been positive progress toward a 1-year entry-level contract with Arseny Gritsuk and the Devils, now likely to sign before June, as previous mentioned. Still sounds like a deal for 25-26. Terrible. Canes got their guy in the lineup, and so did the Canadians. What are we doing? This guy Gritsuk going to be here in 28. No, I believe he'll be here next year. John Fay, I'm going to say it the way we've been playing these last 3 games. We don't deserve the 3rd seed. We got it because the Rangers played like shit and let the Flyers dog walk them. Well, the division, the bottom of the division is ugly. The bottom of the division is ugly. That's undeniable. And, it is what it is. If we were in the Atlantic, we'd be toast. Luckily, we're not. But, yeah, being in a weak division has certainly helped us out here. I do agree that that's part of, how we're even here now. It's just so sad with what expectations were. I'm just coming. Oh, yeah, guys, I'll mention this. Follow me on X if you don't. I'm starting to get a little more involved on there, even though I've voiced my displeasure with the platform. I just dropped the link in the chat there. If you're on X, follow your boy there. I'm going to drop the Instagram one as well. I'm trying to figure out different things to put on each of these. It's all a work in progress. As I just put the Instagram link in there as well. There'll be some stuff on there in the off season as well. Jay Snow, I don't think you're crazy at all for Nico to walk. This organization doesn't change things. Yeah, you got to show him something. It's not just like, here's money, sign. Like, there's going to be 25 teams trying to sign him if he becomes an unrestricted free agent. Mark, a very pathetic performance today. Sorokin is a top-tier goaltender, and that's what scares me when they start playing playoff teams like Carolina. They're going to go up against a solid goaltender. I think we have the advantage in net, obviously, but that could be it against the Canes. I do think Markey's better than their guys, but in the end, is that, what's going to matter more? Everything else, or is Markey and the goaltending going to be what decides the season series? We're going to find out. I'm hoping Markey could steal some of these games. Devil Evan says LTIR money is not free money. Oh, you're preaching to the choir. I fully understand. And just to clarify for those that may be confused, LTIR money allows a franchise and allows the organization to go out and spend above the cap because you have guys that are injured on long-term injury reserve. So the money is not free. It comes out of the owner's bottom line, which is the problem in this scenario, which is why we haven't used it for 2 years. But teams that truly want to win, that winning is priority number 1, they say, we are willing to spend. We are, however you want to call it, the unfortunate and fortunate, depends on how you look at it, but it's a combination of both. The unfortunate/fortunate scenario to be able to dip into our pockets and spend this money to bring in these extra players that we would not have been able to fit under the salary cap if these other guys were not injured. And then, like magic, David Copperfield, come the playoffs, all these guys are miraculously healed, and now you have a juggernaut team that is, 10, 15, whatever it is, $1 million over the cap because you have an ownership group that prioritizes winning and will put their money behind it. We don't have that right now. Chico says, I've never not gotten diarrhea from the Prudential Center food. Oh, boy. Devil Heaven, the box, the lounges I'm talking about, you don't have to, I mean, so like what you're saying, skyboxes is kind of like an old term, old school kind of terminology. And I think when you say skybox, you're probably referring to the suites. The suites are kind of almost like yesterday's news at this point. Those are kind of like, there is a suite level where you could get the food and stuff. But in the end now, the Devils have in the arena several different, what I'll call lounges. I mean, they call them lounges or like VIP areas. There's a shitload of them now, all different locations, but they're all very similar in the sense that they have tons of food that you just go up, and some of them are served by, employees. Some of them are self-serve where you grab the burger, the hot dog, or the chicken fingers, whatever. But it's a combination of like slightly fancier food, like, pasta stations, carving stations with the potatoes, the mashed potatoes, the fingerling potatoes, the different salads and the macaroni salad. And you got the rolls and you got the this, you got the that, broccoli, zucchini, all kinds of random shit. And then they have like the regular arena fare, burgers, dogs, tenders, buffalo tenders, whatever it is, pretzels, French fries. But these places are not really the traditional skybox like you think. They're just more of like VIP areas that if you're sitting in a certain section or designated seats within a section, you have access to these clubs or lounges. And I would say throughout the season, on a lot of nights, you could have got, I would say, to use round numbers, I would say on many games, you could get a ticket in one of these areas. There's many of them. One of these very many areas for between $100 and $200 per ticket. So it's really not that crazy. I understand to a lot of people that may seem like a ton of money, but in the end, if you look at the face value of even the upper level tickets, I believe they're like, $50 to $70. And so if you calculate in buying food a la carte on the concourse, you might spend a very similar amount of money anyway, which is why the move for me, basically for the past probably handful of years now, is that in the end, it just makes more sense to get one of the lounge seats because, I like food, obviously. Who doesn't? And it just makes more sense for me. Devil Heaven, I wish I could afford more than Fire Ice Lounge. Fire and Ice Lounge is great. I mean, they changed the name. That's where I sat today. They changed the name. One's like the Hyundai Club, one's the something else. But essentially, it's what used to be called the Fire and Ice Lounge. Great amenities. And then he says, hello, Nicole, still single. I'm pretty sure she's still married. As pointed out the previous time, Chico says, come on, man. Devil Heaven, grits the other Hughes college draft, not ever option as possible. Supposedly the chance is signing soon. Let's see. I don't think we have confirmation on that yet. Warping cherries or ripping Devils fans? What the hell's that? I'm so confused. Billy D, what's going on? Mark, yeah, using the LTIR money gets sticky later, but so what? I mean, you figure it out. Devil Heaven says, Ace, so we can't panic. Stay on the plan. What is the plan, Devil Heaven? The time to win is now. My glasses are on because the future has been bright for a decade. At some point, you have to realize the time to win is now. Precious years are melting off of this core. Jacobmarkstrom is here for 2 years. I thought when we got him, and maybe it's silly me, that is a win now move. You are getting a veteran goaltender who has 2 years left on his deal, which potentially could be the end of his career. Maybe not, and I'm hoping he's here longer. But you have to look at it as you need to do everything you can to try to win in those 2 seasons. There is no promise tomorrow. Jacobmarkstrom could suffer an injury again next season that ends his career or ends his season again. You never know. When you have a guy like Markey here and you have the top dogs, Nico's unrestricted in 2 years potentially, you must try to win now. There's always some bullshit excuse or some sort of reason to keep kicking the can down the road and talking about the future. I'm tired of talking about the future. The future is now. You must try to win now. Nicohischier, jesperbratt, season 8 in the league. 1 single playoff round won. 6 total playoff games won. If you guys think that is a team that has been heading in the right trajectory, Again, I have a bridge to sell you. That is not progress. That is a lot of kicking the can down the road, talking about a bright future that never comes. Period. Jacob Markstrom had 2 years left on his deal. This year and next year, you move heaven and earth to bring in the pieces to try to win right now. That's it. Anything else is unacceptable. SJ says, oncoming 5-game losing streak to the playoffs. That would be absolutely disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. Chico says Fitz has no plan and that it changes every day. It's possible. Devil Heaven says, let's load the rock for playoffs game 1. Tasha, wait, how do you get these lounge tickets? Food sounds fire. You can get them in Ticketmaster. Yeah, or you can get them on secondary ticket websites. But there's tons of different lounges in the arena with food. John, at this point, every Devils fan would rather have a baby as a GM over Fitz, you can't blame them. Mark, the way the season's winding down, the Devils are probably finished with their current 89 points. I'd like to know when was the last time a top 3 team finished with lower amount of points. Brutal. Mia says Paul Cotter is getting a hearing. I'm not shocked. Hopefully he only gets a game or nothing, but we talked about this earlier. It definitely is a potential suspension. Tasha, Fitz did make good moves during the offseason, which we should write off, but his work at the deadline is inexcusable, and he's also the owner's pawn. So, yeah, listen, I was vocally critical of him last year, keeping his hands in his pockets and refusing to get a goalie until deadline day when it was too late, and then he goes and gets 2, gets Jake Allen and Kakinen when it was clearly too late. That was furious to me. I thought we wasted a season. Again, another precious year of our core. I thought that was inexcusable. And then I kind of had faith restored with, I thought, was a pretty damn good offseason by him with robbing Kovacevic from the Canadiens, the Cotter trade, signing Dylan Pesce, obviously the Markstrom trade, getting Nason. I love the offseason moves, but even then when I was praising the offseason moves, I said, this is a good start. But the true test and the true report card is going to come in season leading up to the deadline when you've seen now a huge chunk of games, a big sample space from the team. Can you identify what they need and pull the trigger to make the moves? And for the second season in a row, my man had his hands in his pockets, did absolutely nothing. And I'm sorry, I think Glass and or Sprong could be fine bottom 6 additions, but that's not what's going to move the needle. That is not pushing you over the hump. And in a season where we were firmly in a playoff spot, which is very different than last season we were pitching the dream of clawing into the playoffs. This season we were firmly in one with some injuries. It was like, this is a year you got to bring in you got to galvanize the troops and bring in some help. And the answer was, Sprong, Glass, and Chalowski. And I'm sorry, that's a failure on deadline day. And it is what it is. Execution says pre-chase. I'm tired of it, man. Yeah, luckily Dougie's back. I mean, that's something. Tasha, goalies are only prime for so long. It had to be win now. 100% of the future will collapse. Nico and Jesper will leave. Well, Bratter signed up for a while, but Nico is very much in the air to me. And a lot of people think that it's a crazy notion. I don't think it is at all. Ted says, Ace, what is our big game hunting this season? I don't think there's going to be much of big game hunting. We're not going to have any money really to go truly big game hunting in the summer. John Van Cotter is getting a hearing about that hit just when we thought even if he gets suspended, it can't go into the playoffs. That'd be psychotic. Bonzo, only if they win the last 2 games will I think they have a small chance of beating the Canes. It's not going to change much, in my opinion. It's just as frustrating. Chico, Zetterlund went for the same price we paid for Dumo when we already had a D-man in Hataka and no middle 6 winger like Zetterlund. Yeah, I said this a while back too. There was no excuse. Even if he's a pure rental, so be it. It would have helped us down the stretch into the play and for the playoffs as well. To me, that's just a complete misstep to not try to bring back a guy like Zetterlund when you were willing to use a second rounder to bring in Dumoulin, who's definitely just a rental. SJ says, I just want to win. Please beat the Bruins. Chico Fitz is just not good. He's not a good judge of talent. He's not good at asset management. He's not good at drafting. He's not good at development. He's just not good at anything. I can't say he's not good at anything because I do think the offseason moves were good. But in the end, the in-season moves are way more important than the offseason because that's the last line of defense. It's like, here's your last chance to add to the group you have now for the playoffs, and we got spare parts. Tasha, you had a great retool of the roster, though. Our defense went from kind of bad to great, but we needed a score to help Phil Jack. Nothing happened. We should have tried to get Brock Nelson or anyone that would be a true impactful player. Pontus says, bring back Eliash. Devil Evan 77, let's get the Samurai Devil Sword sharpened. James, at this point, hopefully a big Devils fan wins the lottery so they can buy the team, fire Fitz, and hire a competent GM. The reality is the economics of the sport has changed dramatically over the past, I don't know, I'll call it 5 to 10 years. And what once could have been you could have won the Powerball and potentially bought a team. Not anymore, man. James, these teams are all damn near, the Devils are worth over $2 billion now. You ain't winning any lottery to clear $2 billion. It's going to have to be someone, it's going to have to be a billionaire already. You're not winning buying the Devils money anymore. You need a billionaire to buy the team. And the owners are never going to sell the team. They're collecting sports franchises like baseball cards. So there's no point. They wouldn't sell the team. It's a great investment. Tasha, hopefully Dougie return will just pump the team back up. We need that. We'll take any sort of boost from anywhere we could get it. Chico, the offseason moves are good in a vacuum, but you consider the state the team was in kind of ended up the team was in, it kind of ended up taking them from having a flawed but sure direction to being kind of a sloppy mess. That's kind of a fair assessment as well. John, take care. See you for the post-game live with the Bruins. I'm out. I don't know if it's necessarily shitting on him. It's just pointing out the many, many missteps, which I think are all warranted. SJ says Zet's fit with our team too. Yeah, supposedly he wants a lot of money in the offseason, but like I said, even if he was a pure rental, so be it. If you paid a second for Dumoulin, then who the hell cares? Like, Zetterlund would have been a way, way bigger get and way more important, piece to plug in than Dumoulin was. Even if it was a pure rental, would have loved to see Zetterlund back. Tasha, considering we started falling down right before the deadline and everyone got injured and then you do absolutely nothing. Yeah, this is all true. Chico, and I think that's because Fitz rushed it. Fitz only acts in the offseason, which is like 3 weeks, that he has to make moves because he doesn't know you could do things in the season. Oh, he knows. He just sits back and watches the other teams do it and comes in second. A lot of teams question GM owners. I don't know what that means necessarily. Devil Dog 7, which competent GM is available? I don't think any of this stuff is rocket science. I'm sure there's guys that we don't even know of, but in the end, it's not. Anyone can be a GM. Literally, anyone could be a GM. Now, whether they're a good GM or not is a different story. But in the end, it's not what people make it out to be, or at least some people. Like, the bar is pretty low. You don't think that there's tons of people out there that would do a better job? I find that hard to believe. I think Marty would do a better job. Lou just got fired? Where did you see that? Did Lou really get fired? After Sorokin shuts out the Devils? Tasha, the dream would be the guy from Utah. Dude is so engaged in his team and loves repping his state. Chico, when you look at the proper retools like the Panthers or Caps or Jets, they took their time, they picked their players and got the exact guys they wanted. It feels like Fitz just went for whatever he got. Maybe yes and no. I mean, who do you think was like a force? I think like Nace. I think the pieces he got made tons of sense outside of Tatar. That one seemed like, that was wishful thinking. I think I understand why he did it, but I think Pesci and Dillon made sense. Oleg, Bratt, Hischier, and Meier need to bring their A game for the playoffs. Then we have a good chance to win. Yeah, but I do think Carolina is going to key off on those boys. And then is the depth offense going to show up, or is it going to go completely dry as well? Because if the big guns get shut down and then the bottom six ain't doing nothing, that's a quick series. That's quick work for the Canes. Tasha said Mitch Marner in the offseason would be so cool if only we had the money. I don't want any part of Mitch. Not my kind of player. I want some more heart and soul, gritty skill guys. He's another kind of soft kid to me. I said this last time. I want men. We got a lot of boys. I want some men. Jason, I don't want any part of Marner. Tasha, you're also very much under the thumb of the owners as GM. So, I mean, to some extent, yes, right? But in the end, forget anything else that people talked about here. At what point would it not be fair to say that if you completely whiff on a number 7 overall in the first round, which is exactly what happened with Alex Holtz? Like, listen, I love Paul Cotter. I'm glad we got him. But in the end, if you draft a guy like Holtz, number 7, fail to develop him properly, likely because he just never had what you thought he had, right? And then you essentially deal him, dump him off in a trade to get a bottom 6 guy like Paul Cotter, that is a massive, massive fail and gross negligence use. Just an absolute failure of a number 7 overall pick that in the end you trade it for a bottom 6 guy. That's a terrible whiff. And then even if Nemitz turns out to be a good player, I'm going to call his draft at a number 2 overall pick also a massive whiff. And so you now bomb on a 7th overall and a 2nd overall. That's horrifying in itself. Never mind the in-season stuff that's not happening. I think it's all very fair. Aside from the owner stuff, that stuff has nothing to do with the owners, Tasha. So what are you going to say? Chico, the plot signing is a perfect example of Fitz panic signings. He missed on Johnny Hockey and seems like he pulled the nearest free agent off the street and gave him whatever he wanted. That one you may have a point. Of course I'm still alive, Amagi. We out here. Ted says, Ace, I watched the replay. The Paul Cotter hit does not look good. Yeah, he whacked him with the elbow, but he wasn't looking at him. Garrett, we don't need more soft skill guys. We need more dogs on this roster. Completely agree. Chico, Cotter was a good ad, but for both Schmidt and Holtz, I'm sorry, that's just too much. Nason is a decent depth ad. I think Dylan was unnecessary, though I do like him. In the end, what is Schmidt going to be? I freaked out when the trade first got announced. I was livid because I was delusionally hoping that Holtz could be at least a 20 goal guy, potentially top 6 guy. But, once Fitz buried him publicly and was like shit talking him in that one press conference, I figured the end might be near. And in the end, despite being a franchise legend for his performance against the Rangers, Akira Schmid may never be an NHL goaltender either. So in the end, we literally may have gotten rid of a goalie who never makes it in the league and a guy in Holtz who never makes it in the league either. They both could be playing in Sweden or potentially Russia in the next couple seasons. SJ said, I believe LeChance signed entry-level contract, but can he play now? I think he can, but I don't think it's confirmed. Saravelli just said he's hearing that they've signed him. I can't wait to see if we get an announcement. Chica says, for me, Pesci was by a country mile the best off-season ad Fitz made. Devil Heaven, I'm having a new few recipe, 21 vodka and ginger. Very nice. Tasha, so excited for Bastion and Dowling to leave. Tatar's falling off a cliff. If Fitz resigns any of them, done. So there's going to be some bottom 6 guys back that people are going to complain about. There's just too many holes to fill. Devil Dog Ace, not sure Brodeur would make a good GM the same way John McClain would make a good head coach. Of course, nothing's a guarantee. With that being said, I do think to some extent it's easier to be a GM than a head coach. I could be wrong, but I do think it could be easier to be a GM than a head coach. And I also think that, again, because the bar is so low, could Marty do any worse than what we have right now? And I'm going to say the answer is no. And so in the end, I will take my chances with a franchise legend, an all-time great that has been associated with winning at every level, whether it's the NHL with multiple Stanley Cups, international tournaments with Canada, very networked in the hockey world, very accomplished, has seen it all, has done it all, negotiated his own contracts with Lou Lamoriello as a player when he fired his agent. I will roll the dice with the great Martin Brodeur any day of the week. Lance Schneider, the physicality has totally disappeared. I don't understand. Where does this come from, the coach? I think it comes from a lot of stuff. I don't know. I just think players nowadays don't really – I think there's this kind of commonly accepted thing where players don't play balls out every game and that somehow they just magically turn it on in the playoffs. And I don't agree with it, and we're going to see what happens. But my expectations have been downgraded significantly in the past week. Tosh, I didn't think of it like that. Fitz is not really good at drafting either, so. Officially, LeChance signed his deal. Is that announced? Let's see. I don't see it yet. SJ says Paulie and Nason will turn up the physicality in the playoffs. Need that. Those are the two guys that I've kind of earmarked from the beginning. Playoff Paulie and playoff Stephen Nason, the junkyard dog. Are they going to come out and get it done? Are they going to start smashing guys like we saw at points of the earlier in the season? But I'll be honest, it's just been such a far cry from that in the 2025 calendar year. Tosh says Pesci's great and he loves NJ. I love me some Brett Pesci. Chico, I like Brendan Dillon. I like what he brings. I think you could have had something close to him for a lot less. Maybe. Garrett, Marty would at least make win now moves. He loves the team too much. Let it fail. I would think so. Who knows? You never know till one of these guys gets the seat. But I do think the bar is pretty low. Like, come on. This roster needed some help, and we got nothing. Chico, that's mainly what I mean by I think Fitz panicked. Yes, the team needed more grit, but it needs skilled grit, and it feels like Fitz was willing to pay anything to get any grit back on the team. Well, I mean, Nason is some level of skill. Like, when you say skilled grit, like, give me an example of who you were talking about. Obviously, I would have liked a top 6 guy with some grit. Tasha, Marty would be a decent GM, at least better than Fitz. I think Marty seems like a huge win now guy. He would make some moves, consequences be damned. At some point, you have to do that. You have to say, we're trying to win. That's it. You can't keep talking about a bright future. Select a boy, what's going on? Devil Heaven, stop blaming GM's owners. I mean, for some stuff, you have to blame the GMs and the owners. Drop the puck and guess what? Play. Yeah, but if we're going into series outgunned and outmanned because we have a roster with a lot of holes that was not or were not addressed at any point during the season and at the deadline, yeah, obviously the players could go out and play, but you're out there exposed somewhat. Maria D says, Nace being rested now. Hope he's gearing up. I'm curious to see if he plays the next game. Mark, look up mediocre in the dictionary. Traveling Devil, maybe Cotter gave us a teaser of what's to come for the playoffs. Well, I would say that it's the opposite, Traveling. After he's like, oh, shit, I can't hit people now because I might get him with my elbow and get suspended. It could have the opposite effect. And maybe that's the thing with Timo. Timo rocked a guy, and they're like, no more physicality. We got a guy suspended. Dilly's a father to these kids, etc. I'm a huge Dylan guy, so I'm a big Dylan fan. Mark, I worry about Bratt in the playoffs, and his short playoff career has disappeared. Yeah, maybe that wouldn't have been the case if he had more playoff experience. He's going to be playing in his 3rd playoffs this year. I mean, it's crazy. Completely crazy. Oh, boy. Chico said, by skilled grit, I do mean someone like either Kachuk, which, to be fair, is hard, but that's why the Panthers waited years for it. And what a move. The Kachuk acquisition single-handedly turned the franchise around. Chico or someone like O'Reilly, McCann, or even Raquel, I would have all those guys were guys that I would have loved to have at the deadline. Devil Dog, forget GM. Rather have Brodeur replace Rogalski first before he gets his hands on Yegorov. I don't get all the people hating on Rogalski. Like, I can't blame a goaltending coach for poor goaltending for years. I mean, maybe he's not part of the solution, but I don't think he could affect it nearly as much as people make it out to be. Mark, Fitz blew his chances in 22-23 offseason when NJ was a top destination. I don't believe that NJ was ever a top destination, if I'm being honest. But after that year, the Connor Hellebuck rumors were floating around, and I went ballistic. When I heard the Connor Hellebuck rumors, I wanted Hellebuck badly. Badly. That would have addressed once and for all the net for this team for, call it, a decade. And I think that was another big misstep as well. Now this guy's just going to be taking down Vezinas every single year and being an absolute beast for the Jets. Tasha, Devil Heaven, we lost Jack Hughes, our leading scorer, and what did Fitz do at the deadline with 13 million LTIR for a team in desperate need of scoring? Nothing. It's true. Ted, playoffs? Chico, I do like Nason, but he's been brutal 5-on-5 outside of the power play. He just can't really score, and if you really watch him, he doesn't add much defensively either. I like Nason, but we could live without him. And then our team becomes even softer than it already is. Select the boy. Keith should probably say screw it, knock some heads. I would love to see that, but it seems like the heavier, edgier, more violent team disappeared a couple months back, or even a few months ago now. Chico, honestly, for me, I would have just added Pesci, Cotter, Kova, and just sat on that for a bit. I'm still a Nason guy. Ted, Hellebuck would have cost the Devils a kidney. At that point, we had other pieces we could have floated out. Devil Heaven, future Devs, goalies, Yegorov, Dawes. Well, this was before we had Yegorov, though. And don't forget, Poulter, Malik are in that as well, and maybe Brennan. We have a lot of goalies in the system. If one of them does not pan out, it would be an absolute travesty. If one of the many goaltenders in the pipeline now is eventually not the guy, then we have a lot of issues, tons of issues, and it starts with the entire scouting team would have to be replaced if not one of these goalies pan out, because there's a ton. Tasha, what picks and stuff do we have now? We don't have a first rounder this year because we traded it to Calgary for Markey. No first rounder, and I think we traded a couple of the second rounders that we stocked up for our scraps at the deadline. So let's see. So as of right now, let's see what we still have left. I think this is wrong. Yeah, so it looks like this year we still have 2 second-round picks, a third round, a fourth round, 2 sixth rounds, and no sevenths. So this is now after the deadline, trading away some of those second rounders. A pretty pretty weak year for picks, but the offseason, it's going to be some bottom 6 guys. It's not going to be much. You're going to see some bottom 6 guys brought in. Chico, to be fair, Nason, despite his struggles, does have 20-plus goals on 2.7 million per, so maybe I'm just wrong on that one, actually. I mean, he started off super hot. I get it. With recency bias, he cooled off dramatically, but a great year for him, I would say, overall. And I like the dude. He's got some fire. He wants to win for sure. I don't question his want to win. Maybe I'm kind of scapegoating Nason here for things outside of his control, namely injuries. Yeah. Ron was there today. Sleep, team of prima donnas, and Timo was the worst. It was a bad day. I'm wrong on Nason. Scratch that point. Look at you, Chico. I'm proud of you. You thought about it, and you're like, I just looked into it some more, and I'm changing my stance. More people need to be like Chico. SJ, Canes are definitely not untouchable. They are very consistent. Yeah, if there's ever a year to get revenge on him, this is going to be it, and it's going to boil down to, can our boy Markey stand on his head? Tasha, the Dumo trade is livable. He's a decent replacement. I like him. Chalowski and Sprong. Sprong supposedly is a huge scorer, and Chalowski is pretty much AHL level. Yeah, but Dumoulin's not going to be here next year, so it's a pure rental. Like, I don't know. I just, it's just another thing you question. But I'm not going to absolutely kill it. I'm just using it as the point of, if you're willing to use a pick there, then you should also be willing to use a pick to bring in a guy like Zetterlund, even if it is a rental. Chico says Rod the Bot is a top 5 coach in the NHL. Oh, definitely. Selectable, if Timo didn't turn that puck over, it would have gone to OT. Probably. Yeah, I think we're going to start wrapping up here. It's been a while. Oh, man, that's a long one. Yes, this is what happens when the games are earlier. I'm not as tired because it's still only 7:30. It's still only 7:30. Yeah, it's still going on, Roman. Chico says, to be fair to Timo, he was completely surrounded with no help in front of his own net. Team has to give him some options there. Scott, totally agree. Future is now tired of the excuses. The future has to be now. I've been saying that for years, but, you know. Here we are, right? Here we are. What is for 15 seconds? I'm trying to see what you said before that. I don't know. What was that about? Traveling. Jason, no, Zet's ain't a rental either. He's an RFA. Could have resigned him. Yeah, but he supposedly wants a ton of money, I think. I believe Claude Lemieux is his agent as well. So that may have been part of the hesitance. But again, even as a pure rental, I would have been perfectly fine with it, and I think it was sensible. Ron, Timo's turnover in our zone was the game looked like high school hockey. Not everyone's gonna have a great game. I mean, listen, he's been a monster over the past, 5 or 6 weeks. So SJ just looked, it's true. Canes are kind of down the same at the moment. Interesting. Yeah, even if that's true, the difference is they've gotten it done in the playoffs before, which makes me think like, okay, well, they're sucking now too, but everything else equal, they've been there before and been down that road. So I'm still more confident in them getting it done. Oh, the net. Okay, yeah. Chico says that Roman, what's his option? Dump into his own end. Isles beat the Devils to that puck 10 times out of 10. Devil Evans says Ace, best Ozark scene. Best Ozark scene. Best or the craziest, I guess this just has to be when Ruthie gets killed. The handsome devil, do you think McDermott comes back game 1 versus the Canes? No, I think we've seen the end of Curtis McDermott, unfortunately. I love Curtis. I think it's unfortunate how the season played out with his limited usage, but I don't think it's going to happen. Chico says that Roman watched the replay. There were 3 aisles on him, the nearest Devils by the boards. They left him out to dry. He made a mistake, but there were only mistakes to make there. Tasha, Pesci was a huge contributor to the Canes defense, something to think about. Selectable, will the Devils get to 90-plus points? Find out next week. Well, they would have to just get one of the next 2 games to overtime to qualify for 90. At this point, I don't even care. Just don't look lifeless and somehow turn it up in the playoffs. Roman, even if there are no other option than to dump it, that's still better. Anything was better. Just trying to plow into someone was better. Scott, do you think the Devils will trade Seamus, Casey, or Nemitz to improve the bottom 6? I feel they'll need to make a trade or 2 to improve the bottom 6. I think bottom 6 guys, at a minimum right away, I'm saying you could potentially be looking at LeChance and Gritsuk filling 2 of those or bottom 6 roles rather on entry levels. And so that's already 2 guys right there. I do expect Cody Glass to be back. So now you start looking at, if you start going down the list of guys that, are done after this year and who may or may not be brought back, there's going to be some fat that needs to go. And I think right away you look and you say, okay, Glass is probably going to be back. And if we do, in fact, sign LeChance and Gritsuk to their entry levels, those are two guys with potential right there to play in the bottom six. And then a lot of people are obviously hoping Gritsuk could maybe play in the top six, but that's two forwards right there. One or two of the guys that are on this team now, minimum, are going to be brought back. So then in the bottom six, so then you're like, okay, maybe you're one or two guys away, in trade or free agency to round out that bottom six. The question is, can we get a legitimate top six? Now, I think monetarily speaking, it's going to be difficult because of the cap situation with Luke getting the raise and all. But we'll see. Dumo has been good, in my opinion. The price sucked, though. Yeah, we paid a premium because they retained, which is crazy that we're still trying to penny pinch. I'm not going to go off on that tangent again. I'm just furious. Noah, I have the shades on because our future is so damn bright. It's so bright that I need to protect these retinas and my cornea. Tasha, the Gabriel Landeskog stuff is crazy. He really cares and will give his all to the team. Not sure how many people on our team would do the same in that situation. Landy's a beast. He's supposedly going to play for the Avalanche in the playoffs, right? I saw he scored a goal in the AHL. Chico said the Dumo trade probably doesn't happen without the Siegs injury. Oh, I totally agree. But, that doesn't necessarily make it feel much better. Once again, we have to look to the pipeline. We don't have a pipeline. We have basically two forwards that are anywhere near NHL ready, and they're Gritsuk. Well, I guess now you could include LeChance, but Gritsuk and Lenny Haminaho. There's not much else. There's not much other forward depth. We saw some call-ups this year, and they all got one or two games, and then they got cycled through, whether it was Shane Bowers, Legary. My boy, I thought Hallinan was going to be promising. They gave him one or two games, I think. Let me see. Did I miss anybody? Foot. That was one that took forever. Yeah, so we saw Bowers, Legary, Hallinan, Foot, and I might be missing one or two, but no one really stuck. We have no prospects. That's it. We are pretty much, a very for a team that prides themselves on how bright the future is. We do have some, nice pieces in Salayev and Yegorov and some others, but in terms of guys that are close to being ready, not many. And that's why we went out and made the trades we did. If we had any forward depth, you wouldn't have seen us bring in Daniel Sprong and Cody Glass on deadline day. It's not drastic. We don't have depth. Remember, Lou looked at the pipeline. That's what we got. That's because Lou had an actual pipeline. We had draft picks waiting. We had prospects. We had guys that were always building towards that. We don't have that now. Yeah, Jay Snow. We have no prospects. Our prospect pool is shallow. Completely agree. S.J. Sorokin is a very good goalie. Jay Snow, I wanted to see Hallinan for a longer time. Yeah, I liked I always thought Hallinan could be that guy, and he was he didn't get his first look on for a while. Tons of guys got chances before him. That's true. Sorokin made a couple saves, but in the end, I think the Devils kind of, didn't do themselves any favors in terms of really testing him. No, Ace, how are you feeling about the Carolina series? You confident or not? No, I mean, how can anyone be confident, right? I'm optimistic. If Markey gets hot and we get, some nice power plays that we could connect on or something. But, sadly, the best thing you could take going into that series is that Carolina is struggling right now as well and playing poorly. So, to me, it's going to come down to Markey. Can Markey just will us to victory? Devil says, Devil Heaven, Ace, without the pipeline, we run out of cap space and geezers. We have no pipeline. Look at our center depth. It's non-existent. I wish we had a pipeline, Devil Heaven. We do not. And we have Cam Squires, who's super young still. He's another prospect that I'm kind of excited about. I do think Cam Squires could be a player. Tasha, got to say, watching last season's regular season champs absolutely tank and miss the playoffs is super satisfying. Absolutely. Roman says, Marky is super hot. He raised his save percentage to 900. Maybe, is Roman Checkmonic also SST? It's possible. They'll haven't talked to you in a year. Prospects filling the finals. What prospects? Tell me, Devil Heaven. Please educate us all. What prospects are you talking about? If we had any forward prospects, we would not have had to go out on deadline day and literally get Daniel Sprong in a trade, a guy that cleared waivers in December. Cleared waivers, meaning he was waived. No one in the entire league claimed him. Not a single team. And then a couple months later, we give up a pick to get him because that represented an upgrade in our bottom six. If we had any sort of prospect pool whatsoever, we're not doing that, period. You wouldn't need to. Noah says Fitz going to get some shit like Marner next year thinking he did something. Well, first of all, there's no chance of Marner on so many levels, primarily the money. Bonzo, next game, Devils should have to wear KC Scouts uniforms as punishment. Jay Snow, Halloran has 27 goals in the AHL and is a big-ass dude. I don't know why he can't get into a game. I would love to know. I would love to know why as well. I thought from earlier on in the season he'd be one of the first call-ups, and I believe he was like one of the last. Yeah. I think Bowers, Legary, and Foote all got a look before him, and I might be missing somebody. I can't look it up right now. I've lost my steam. Gave up a pick for Sprong is such a joke. I mean, it is what it is. Tasha, the Rangers are also completely imploding from the inside. Nobody's happy. There's drama. It's only getting worse by the day. I don't care about the Rangers. They're out. At least we're in, but I mean, wow. Wow. All right, guys, that's it. I'm done. It's all over. Your New Jersey Devils are on another 3-game homestand losing streak, losing to 3 teams not in the playoffs, scoring 4 total goals across those 3 games, and not scoring now for 114 minutes and counting, which is nearly 2 consecutive games. After 6 minutes into the next game, that would be 2 full games in a row without scoring a goal. But who needs Gritsuk, right? Why try to bring him now? We don't need goal scoring. We got this. We got this solved. I'm just disgusted. Hopefully they find a way to win at least one of these next 2 games to not be on a 5-game losing streak going into the playoffs. That would be absolutely disgusting. But that's it, guys. 1-0 shutout to the Islanders. I was at the game. It was painful. That's it. Got a lot of I'll probably have some stuff coming out in the next few days. Obviously, I'm trying to get the Jay Pandolfo interview edited and put out before the playoffs start, so look for that. And there'll be some other playoff related stuff coming up. I'll probably put out a vlog from this game, even though it was just a painful and disgusting game. I guess maybe some people will still watch the vlog. I don't know. Typically when they lose, no one cares, but I bothered filming it, so it is what it is. But these shades are on because that future is so bright. We just need to win now, guys. Hope and a prayer. Hopefully they somehow find a way to beat the Canes. I'd be ecstatic. That's really it. Just scanning the chat, blew up here at the end. Am I doing pre-playoff show? I'll probably do. There's going to be tons of stuff about the playoffs. I don't know if you mean specific games or if I'm going to do like I'll probably have a bunch of different videos leading up to the playoffs. I might do some sort of pre-playoff live. I don't know. I'll probably do pre-games the day of most games. We're going to see. All to be determined, but there'll be tons of playoff stuff coming up and tons of lives, obviously, so keep your eyes peeled for that. Yeah, the future's always bright, Roman. Brandon Ace, last question. Do you know any Jersey City or Seaside? Oh, those are quite 2 different locations. Jersey City or Seaside Heights viewing parties or hangout spots. I'm sure the Devils will be announcing some stuff when, closer to the playoffs. Sometimes they have like multiple viewing parties in different areas. But Jersey City and Seaside Heights, I mean, wow. 2 random areas. What do you got, a summer house in Seaside, Brandon? You a Seaside summer guy? You and Tommy Cheeseballs? LJ says Devils in 7. Oof. Winning a game 7 in Carolina would be crazy. What is Rubberneck? What is Rubberneck? Daniel says, glad I worked today and missed this monstrosity. It's terrible. It's a great one to miss. What's up, Matt? Missed the game, just got home. How many games do you think Cotter is getting? I'm hoping 1 or 2. I don't think he has a history. And he also wasn't really looking at him when he hit the guy. I saw they only showed the replay once in the arena. It looked worse from the angle I saw in the arena. Then when I got home and watched it, you could see he's not really looking at him when he does it. But I mean, the blood adds to it. Obviously, he was laid out, and there was blood pools on the ice. That could all definitely add to the outcome. I'm hoping he doesn't get suspended, but if he does, I'm hoping it doesn't bleed into the playoffs. So 1 or 2 games, it's almost like who cares at this point? Apparently the whole team's not trying for the rest of the regular season because these games are meaningless. No one cares. So, it is what it is. I'm not too concerned. Would like some win, 1 win before, so we're not going into the playoffs on a 5-game losing streak. But 1 or 2 games, as long as it doesn't go into the playoffs, I don't care. If they somehow give them like more than that, then I would be furious. Any sort of, anything that costs them playoff time would be egregious. Oh, my God. You're also a tourism bot for Jersey City and Seaside Heights. No, I haven't listened in a while. I like the grab ass on the roof one. That's one of my favorite sketches by them that I always remember. Brandon says, I'll be in those areas visiting on 8-day vacation in May en route to Washington, D.C. Very nice. So what made you randomly pick Jersey City and Seaside Heights, though? They're super far apart. The Jets are definitely still going to be – what do you mean? The Jets are going to go further in the playoffs than the Devils. Later selected boy. All right, that's it. This has been forever. These things go on way too long when the games are early because I'm not, like, passing out. Like, if this was after a regular timed game, I'd be dying right now. All right, that's it. Hit the thumbs up for your boy on the way out. Hit that thumbs up. Like I said, tons of stuff leading up to the playoffs. Will be coming out, videos, lives. The Jay Pandolfo thing I got to finish up editing on and get that out before the playoffs. I'm also finalizing the giveaway show. There's a lot going on. There's always a lot going on. And, yeah. If you haven't seen the Yegorov video, check that out on the channel. There's always stuff coming out, guys. There's always stuff coming out. More lives. I'll probably do a pregame show before most of the games the day of, I think. And that's it. That's it. I'm done. Super disappointing. 3-game losing streak at home. Hoping to avoid going into the playoffs on a 5-game losing streak. It's just super annoying. It's annoying. But thanks for watching. I love you all. Like, comment, subscribe, and all that jazz. Until next time, friends, let's go Devils.